Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. Coming up this morning, we're going to hear from RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni at 8 o'clock. They're getting ready to play Minnesota tomorrow night. They've also advanced as the fourth seed, the fourth and final team into the quarterfinals of the League's Cup. David Locke on the Utah Jazz schedule has been released. Hey. Nice time to go to Phoenix. David Locke with a win there. We'll talk with David about that. He's going to join us at 8:30. Right now, let's talk some Michigan football out of the gate with longtime Michigan beat writer for the Detroit Free Press, Angelique Chengelis. Kyle Whittingham's a little bit of a story, and so is, like half the staff, and so is several of the transfers they took with them. How is the transition going in your estimation?
I think based on what the players say, the players who returned from Michigan from last year, they seem to, it's been seamless, and they've also really responded to a heavy dose of discipline and just a new way of approaching things, because it was pretty chaotic, as I think you might know, last year at Michigan. And in the 2 years under Sharon Moore, it was definitely a little more lax. And I think that the players are really responding to Whittingham and his staff bringing in just, a little more demanding. But, players also like the fact that practices are efficient and shorter, and meetings are efficient and shorter. And, they're not wasting time. They're focused. And I think that's what they're all responding to.
Oh, yeah, that is Whittingham to a T. We're older guys. Myself, I had kids his age, and we lived in the same neighborhood. I went golf with him a bunch, and worked at the Salt Lake Tribune before I transferred over to radio. So I was a beat guy, and we've gotten to know him inside and out for sure. And one of the things that I always said in covering his program was that, this is usually a random example, October 20th at 2 p.m., every player, once he got in the program, and all the staff members, they knew full well October 20th at 2 p.m., they were doing the same thing when he got the job 20 years ago as they were last year. And the point I'm making is the structure was always the same, and the identity was, you knew exactly what you were supposed to do, when you were supposed to do it, and how to do it. And when you speak of that, I knew that's what he would bring to Michigan. And it seems like from the outside, with all the chaos, that is something that they very much needed.
Oh, absolutely. And even before that, Harbaugh was here for 9 years. His schedules were a little more, not scattered, but he would try to, catch the players off guard. So they would have to wait. And I think his philosophy was, I want them to not be running around. I want them to, have to wait for this text to find out what time practice is tomorrow. And I'm thinking more camp versus during the season. And, I also think that younger people in general really do want boundaries, and they do want structure. And that's what I think that they've craved, and that's what I think Whittingham has brought. And they really have. I mean, he's got a horn that sounds, I think meetings at 8 a.m., it sounds at 7:45, which means you're late. So they like that. They laugh about it, but they like that. And they like structure, and I can't emphasize enough that is what was missing just wholesale last year, and that's what these players really wanted.
When Rich Rodriguez was at Arizona, we had him on the show, and we got to talk to him a little bit about the time at Michigan. And obviously, Rich Rod knows a lot about football. So the issues weren't so much about football, but it was cultural, it was fit, it was relating to fans and boosters, and this whole thing about hating Ohio State. It seemed to me like, well, that's the kind of thing, not exactly, but that's the kind of thing that helped get Rich Rod off on the wrong foot. Now, he didn't win enough. There were other issues off the field, so it wasn't just this, but it was clear that Rich Rod culturally something happened there. Can you evaluate that and what this latest comment about Ohio State means or doesn't mean to the fan base?
Yeah, I mean, look, I remember going to Rich's first press conference. I liked Rich. I mean, he was the hot coach. I mean, Alabama hired him the year before, and he had issues with his AD at West Virginia, wanted a break, and came to Michigan. And I remember thinking when I walked out of there, yeah, this is going to set Michigan back 10 years. I mean, and it was more like a dozen, really. It just I just could tell this was not going to fit. I've been covering the team since 1992, so I got a sense of what Michigan is about. And I think that's been a curious thing for me watching Whittingham. I mean, I asked him the first press conference in December about Ohio State, because that's what you do at Michigan. You ask them about Ohio State. It's your biggest rival. It's the game. I grew up in Ohio. I love the game. And, he just right away didn't he grasped it, but but I'm like, okay, that's his first press conference. Cut him some slack. And, as it's gone on, I think he makes sense. You don't have to hate the person to be competitive. Of course he wants to win it. But, you see what Signetti did when he first got the job, and he's talking to the crowd at Indiana basketball and basically trashing Ohio State and Michigan and Purdue, everybody. And he's got that swagger and everybody likes. You go way back to Jim Tressel when he first got the job, and he announces that in however many days before the game against Michigan, Ohio State's going to show up and be this team that everybody wants to see. So fans rally around that. I think Whittingham has sort of tamped that down a little bit, but I don't doubt he gets a rivalry. He played in the Holy War, coached in the Holy War, and so I think he gets it, but I'm not sure he gets it yet. And
right.
And I threw in a story the other day about Rich Rod. When he first got here, a fan gave him a Beat Ohio State button that he kept on his desk, and as a reminder. And I'm thinking, you don't need a reminder. But to all this point, Jim Harbaugh took until 2021. He wouldn't talk about Ohio, he wouldn't separate it as a great rival until 21, and then he started bringing it up, and then obviously they had success after that.
I like what he said the other day. He was brought up, and when it happened down in Chicago. We came back and I said, he's going to take some heat for that. About not just hating them with a passion of 1,000 suns and all that stuff. And we talked about it. I said, it's kind of silly, but I think he's going to take heat about it. And then I saw this week, and his response was, well, if I hate him, is it going to help us beat him? And how was that received? Because he got that look on his face, and I know that look of he doesn't really understand what's going on, and he's almost to the point of being miffed about it. How about the recent thing when he said, well, if I hate him, how's that going to help us beat them by more, or whatever he said there?
Yeah, I listened to that and I thought, that actually kind of makes sense. But, I played recreational competitive tennis, and I would go into every match saying, I hate this person across the net. And then afterwards I was fine. And look, I've covered the game for many years, and you talk to the players, and yes, they hate each other preparing for the game. They hate each other on game day, but wow, they have a lot of respect for each other. And I think if he goes that route, but he's not going to say he hates Ryan Day, and that's fine. I mean, Jim Harbaugh took heat for making that, Ryan Day. He didn't say Ryan Day, but we all knew he was saying Ryan Day was born on third base. And so that created a lot of maybe unnecessary friction and pettiness in the rivalry. But the Michigan fans loved it. It was something that they're like, yeah, that's our coach. He's saying those things. But, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I get it. Whittingham has so much on his plate right now. And I think in my mind, that's what he's wondering. Shouldn't everybody be focused on game 1? And not game 12. And, yeah, we understand what Ohio State means in Columbus, of all places, to play your first Michigan-Ohio State game. But what about focusing on now? And that was the vibe I got from him, is that, they do have the signs up in the building. What are you doing today to prepare for Ohio State, to beat Ohio State? So it's there, and the players know. And my sense is that Whittingham, by then, will really understand what it means.
I did see a post on one of the social media, and a guy said, give him a break. He's brand new. He can't hate him yet, but it won't take long because they're them.
That might be so. But, he's close with Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer is a great Ohio State coach. And I do wonder sometimes, do Michigan fans, are they tired of him mentioning Urban Meyer? Because, he's someone that Michigan fans, I think, really did not care for. And, so maybe that relationship, he doesn't, because of that, he's not going to hate Ohio State in that sense. But he is going to want to beat them. I mean, there's no doubt. He's going to want to win every game. Every coach is out like that, and they'll all say that. But, I mean, I that's the only person I can compare him to is Rich Rod, is the first guy who didn't play it, play at Michigan or coach at Michigan prior to becoming a head coach. And, he'll get it. I think Rich maybe was a little more stubborn in that sense, but I don't think Whittingham is.
A lot of folks think of Utah as out in the middle of nowhere, a bunch of backwood people and all that stuff. I'm wondering, because I was born and raised in New Jersey, so I could relate to it, but I wonder, and my wife's mother actually is from the Detroit area, so she's got tons of people there. We've been there many times. And I wonder, how do all these people just react to all these folks from Utah now being in the Michigan program?
That's a great question. And I haven't gotten a sense from fans or people in Ann Arbor that, it feels different, I will say, than when Rich came. And I can't put my finger on it. I mean, it was, he's coming from West Virginia. He had an accent, and he would say words that didn't exist, like irregardless, and Michigan fans would pick up on that. And I don't think Kyle Whittingham and his staff, most of them are from Utah. I mean, Harding is from Toledo originally, so they have that. He's got his wife is from nearby here, Farmington Hills. But Utah is distant. I've been there Harbaugh's first game was at Utah, and I covered a basketball game there. The place is stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and it does feel far away. And that's my thing is, does the staff this is the Big Ten is a little different animal now, especially with the addition of those 4 Pac-12 teams that I suspect they're very familiar with, and I don't think people are like, oh my God. And if you're saying, there's an issue, there are Mormons, and is there a church in Ann Arbor? I believe there is. And, so I don't think that's been an issue with fans. And they just want to win, and they just want to beat Ohio State and beat Michigan State too. I mean, they've got Pat Fitzgerald there now, and he's definitely revving up the Spartans and getting them motivated for their season and for playing Michigan. So I am really interested to see how Whittingham and his staff respond to the in-state rivalry in Ohio State, but also the challenge of the Big Ten and this schedule with Oklahoma coming. This is a brutal first year, I think, for him and this staff.
So assess the first year. What do you think the administration, which seems to be ever-changing, the boosters and the fans would label a successful year? Where is the bar set?
I think the bar, to me, I've got them. I'm thinking 7-5, 8-4, and I'm probably going to settle on 8-4. I think a lot of people would be very happy with 9 wins. I hear people, you get more excited they were on the Big Ten Network last night. They were visiting Michigan's camp, and you see, different plays that are made in the background, and people get more excited as the season gets closer. And they're talking college football playoff. He's got to make the college football playoff. And I thought Whittingham was very smart at Big Ten Media Days and not setting the bar too low, but just saying, look, year 2 is really when things will click. And, this is a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. So there's a lot of new going on here. And, so I think 9 wins is what a lot of people are hoping for. And 10 would be a nice bonus. But I just think realistically looking at this schedule and really not knowing, we don't know a lot about what Bryce Underwood is going to look like. And we can, be told that he's making improvements, but, what does that mean? And so that's why I think 8-4 seems to me a reasonable prediction for this season.
Yeah, we had on Tim Brando the other day, and he was saying that he didn't think it was going to go well, and that I was surprised. Because it's still Michigan, and going well, I guess, is relative. So 8-4, is that going well?
No, I don't think it's going well. I think it's a reasonable expectation for a first year. And Whittingham has had to come into a situation that he had to clean up. There was a lot, there was a mess. And now, as you mentioned, changing administrations, Michigan is looking for a new president. They're going to be looking for a new athletic director. Warren Manuel will be out by the end of the year. So there is a lot of that on that end. What I understand is he has been tireless in terms of, and I'm talking about Whittingham, in terms of visiting with donors and raising money, and it's an embarrassment of riches, I think, for Whittingham right now, with the money that Michigan has for this football program, what they've raised for NIL, plus the revenue share. So I think that he has talked a lot about that, about the talent, and I think you're seeing some of that success translating to their recruiting and landing a lot of really top recruits. So I think there's so much on his plate right now. I think, when you look at Oklahoma in week 2, and then you've got Indiana coming here, and they go on the road to Oregon late, and then Ohio State. To me, those are the 4 losses. That's what and there's part of me that thinks that they could lose a game that they shouldn't lose, like at Minnesota or Iowa in Ann Arbor. I mean, Iowa, that defense can always be extremely, extremely suffocating. So I just think 8 wins in my mind is a very reasonable start to his coaching career at Michigan. And as he said, year 2 is when you really start having greater expectations for the program, because then Underwood's a sophomore, and he started as a young freshman last year, and he's got to see how he adapts to Jason Beck, and he's had a lot of training in LA with Palmer and trying to fix his footwork, all these things, but those aren't just wave a wand and they're fixed. So I think that's why he's sort of pointing. I don't think he was saying, this is a wash this year, but I think he's pointing to year 2 as that's when you're really going to see what they're capable of.
Have you had a chance to interact with Jay Hill much?
A little bit. I mean, he's been to 2 press conferences, and he's been on a couple of the in-house podcasts that Michigan has, and he's talked about what a difficult he wants this. He believes this is the most challenging defense, the most complicated defense in the country, and I asked him about that the other day, and he said he's got about, I think, 65 to 70% install, and that's probably where they're maxing out this year. So I think he feels good about what he has. I think linebacker is thin, and that's going to be an issue, but they feel really good about their defensive line and their secondary. So, but he seems pretty pleased with the talent he has inherited here and what he brought, with Daly and Snowden. So I think they feel really good about the personnel.
You were on our show September 24th, 2015. Do you believe that?
Yeah, that was that was right before Jim's first game, right? Yeah.
So what I want you to do is next time you get up with Whittingham, tell him you're on the DJ PK show and tell him we miss him dearly. He'll get a kick out of that.
I will definitely do that. And I remember that trip. It was great. But then I decided to drive to Park City, and I wasn't prepared for the altitude, so I had to pull off the road, and, it didn't feel so great.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not tough enough yet. We don't have any mountains here. We don't have any, it's too flat here, so I got to work on that.
There's Michigan beat writer Angelique Chengelis working for the Detroit Free Press. When we come back, Eric Pincus, longtime NBA reporter on the sale of the Lakers. What does it all mean? We'll talk with Eric next. DJ PK, it's 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. We are joined now by Eric Pincus. Eric, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
As a national NBA writer for Bleacher Report, how blown away were you by the news the Lakers were getting sold?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, my dog woke me up. I don't wake up this early unless you guys call me and want me to do the show. So my dog woke me up just to let her out the room, and I'm good at going back to sleep. That's not a problem for me. Some people, they get woken up, they can't go back to sleep. But I look at my phone just to make sure there's no, emergencies and whatnot. And it was like literally right when Ramona Shelburne of ESPN had the story. And Lordy, if I had billions of dollars, which, spoiler, I don't, but if I did, I would certainly want to buy the Lakers and not flip them for a profit. Like, that's not I'm not just the Lakers or, an NBA team. I would love to have an NBA team. That would be fun. And I would not try to just buy it so I can sell it. That's not the reason why I would want a team. And it was certainly surprising. It's an understatement to say surprising.
Does it mean anything for the day-to-day operations, or maybe we don't know yet?
a sale like this usually takes anywhere between 2 to 6 months in terms of the NBA approving. I mean, 2 would be aggressive. I would be surprised, normal surprise, not like shocked like we were the other day, if they got it done by the end of the year. But, that's reasonable, like around December. But let's just pencil in for safety, let's say All-Star. So around February. So, a team isn't going to drastically change, in terms of like the 26-27 season immediately. If there's an ownership change in February, they're not likely to change any sort of anything really. And honestly, like Jeannie Buss, who's the governor of the team, she's not obligated to do anything that the new owners want to do because it's not official yet anyway. So, short term, no. Long term, yeah. I mean, things were already changing, but I think key to the original sale to Mark Walter was an agreement that Jeannie Buss would run the team for 5 years. Now, that was met with a lot of skepticism, at least when I talked about it and wrote about it. People say, new owner, they just spent all this money to buy the Lakers. They're not going to let Jeannie run the team because they're going to want to run the team. But, at least talking to people, this was in the agreement. When the NBA announced the sale, they included that note in their announcement. I feel like at least I gave an over-under of like 3.5 years, and I took the over that Jeannie would run the team for a handful of years. So 4 or 5 years. Maybe she'd leave 1 year early, something like that. But now there's this new sale, and honestly, like if you buy an apartment building or a complex and there are leases, you're buying the leases. It's not like those leases go away and you can kick everyone out. So I just don't know what's the legality of the language. Do they fight it? It's a quandary. I don't know the answer. No one at this point really knows the answer.
It also seems like you said, it's going to take a while to close the sale. And if you've never owned an NBA team before, having somebody for a year just to show you what's going on, the normal ropes of, these are the timelines of doing this, that, and all that. And by that time, she's down to 2.5 years and everything's negotiable. So I don't know. That didn't seem like that big a deal to me. Having been at media companies where a family sold and they signed themselves to 5-year contracts before they sold, like it'll last as long as it lasts and it'll move on. It's not that big a deal. Yeah,
it is for someone like, Rob Pelinka, who's the general manager, and for the operations staff, for the coach, J.J. Redick. Like normally when a new owner comes in, they install their own people. But you're right in that it doesn't happen day one. It usually takes a good year. I would say like the first year, and that's not like the new owner of the Blazers immediately made massive sweeping changes. Although they still have the same GM, they have a different head coach, and they've made it's just a very different culture. But yeah, usually it's a year of trying to figure out just the lay of the land. As you pointed out, like how does it function? Who's functioning well? But a lot of times they want to bring in their own basketball chief, the person who's going to make the primary decisions. And then, what we saw previously with the Lakers under Mark Walter is that the basketball operations staff didn't change, but they started to change over some of the business. They actually got rid of, I believe, 2 sections of media seating, which I'm not a fan of, but, I get it. Like, we had 108 and 114. I know 108 was gone for the playoffs, and I think they're selling them as seats. So, like, to raise more income, to make it more profitable, I get it. It's not my favorite aspect, but there are going to be changes. And is it a big deal? Well, I don't know. I would say that, the optimism on the Laker fan side of the equation with the Dodgers owner buying the Lakers is that the Lakers previously under the Buss family ran a pretty threadbare organization. And if you go back to Dr. Jerry Buss, who owned the team before Jeannie and passed it on to his family, he invested in players more than like infrastructure. Like that was his belief, that you pay the players. Jerry West infamously was not paid a ton of money, and that's ultimately why he left, or part of why he left. So the Dodgers, though, they spend top dollar. We're not going to get into the inequities of MLB, but they spend a ton of money and they win a lot of championships. So the optimism on the Lakers side is that the Lakers would become the Dodgers when it comes to building out a giant organization that does things very well. And now we have no idea what the character are of Jared Kushner and Bob Iger outside of, their track records outside of sport.
Yeah, and you mentioned Walter with the Dodgers there, and there's some issues with some loans and taxes and thoughts that, well, he had to sell it to take care of these other obligations that are forthcoming and all that, and possible legal proceedings. With all that said, how does that affect the Dodgers, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we can go into, lots and lots of conspiracy theories without any sort of actual information. But what we do know is that there is an investigation into some of all that you alluded to. And so, we could say maybe, obviously Josh Kushner is related to Jared Kushner, who is the husband of Ivanka Trump, who is the daughter of the President of the United States. So, the conspiracy theories are going to write themselves, and I have no information. We can absolutely circumstantially make up something. I'm just curious to see, does the government, cease their investigation into this, or is this just a funding thing? We have no idea. But time is, is on your side in terms of telling the story. Eventually the truth does come out, or at least, some of the truths or part of the truth. So we'll find out. As far as the Dodgers, the Dodger fans don't want there to be any changes because they're, back to back and spending more money than anyone. And baseball's going into its own quandary of labor negotiations and do they put in a salary cap and all that. We don't have any information at this point to say that, they've indicated this doesn't impact the Dodgers. So I don't like to take things on face value. I'm a journalist. That's like literally kind of the opposite of what we do. But in the short term, without any additional information, I'll take it on face value.
There was a stretch where the Lakers were in the NBA Finals from like 1950 to 2010. They basically went to half of the NBA Finals. I mean, it was just amazing how often that club was showing up at the end. Now we've had about 15 years here where they've only been a couple of times. Do you have any sense with this new ownership if they can get back to being the Lakers and being dominant, or if this is good news for everybody else in the West who dreams of going to the NBA Finals and winning a trophy?
Well, the NBA system is, not based on just who spends the most money. If so, like the Clippers would always win. But, the Warriors were also a team that spent the most money over the last, 10 years or so. And, basketball is so unique in that it's really, if you have the best player or at least a top 5 player on the planet, you're likely to be at least in the running for a championship team going to the finals. So the Lakers had Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They had Kobe and Shaq and Kobe and Pau. And then obviously, getting LeBron James, but they got LeBron James much later in his career, although, he's still 41, almost 42 and still pretty spectacular. They have Luka Doncic. And so Luka is among the top 5 talents in the league, and we could debate that and argue it. And if someone wants to say he's top 10 and not top 5, fine, but I would have a hard time finding someone to say he's lower than 10, at least offensively. He's not like this lockdown defender, to say the least, but he's an incredible scorer. So that they have that player suggests that they have an opportunity to stay at this level. But we're seeing parity. We've seen parity for about 8 years, which predates the current CBA with the aprons. And the aprons should, in theory, just sort of reinforce how difficult it is to build dynasties. So, the NBA has evolved. The league has evolved. I said, like, the Warriors are one of the highest spending teams. That's not why they had the success they had. It was because they had Steph Curry, who is generational, multi-generational talent as far as shooter, the best we've really ever seen in the league. So obviously, if you're the Jazz fan, you need generational talent, and maybe that becomes Keontae George. Maybe he grows into that. You just go team by team. We don't know what Victor Wembanyama certainly seems to be that. We don't know what Cooper Flagg will be or AJ DeBance does. So that generational talent is the most important thing. Lakers have that, so they're at least in the running to become some sort of dynasty. But we're just not seeing dynasties right now in the NBA.
As the sale proceeds along being official, how do you think it'll work now when decisions come up during the course of the season in terms of who's going to be able to make them?
Well, that goes back to the agreement that Mark Walter had with Jeannie Buss, is that Jeannie's running the team. She's a governor. She's the one voting when it comes to, the Board of Governors and NBA decisions. He obviously has input and say, or, at least, it's still current tense because it's not a past tense thing yet. Jeannie is going to have, some interaction with the owner of the team and educate him on what their decisions are. But still, she trusts Rob Pelinka, and some people think he's great and some people don't. He's won a ring. He traded for Luka Doncic. So the resume is there. There's also other areas. He traded for Russell Westbrook and, did other things. And Russ has had a great career, and I'm happy for his retirement. But his pairing with LeBron James and Anthony Davis was a ill-fitting decision. So, but she trusts Rob to make these decisions and to build a team. And I don't know that the new owners, because she'll likely there will be a dialogue. I would imagine they'll be involved in understanding, but they don't have the authority to tell Jeannie at this point what to do and what not to do. So these things become sticky, and at least the Walter Jeannie decision was a partnership, and this is really being done without Jeannie's say. But equally, she'll want to have a relationship, I imagine, with the new ownership so that there isn't a conflict for her remaining 3.5, 4 years. So, yeah, these are, real questions that we don't have the real answers to. I don't know that Jeannie Buss has the answers to these questions. I don't know that Mark Walter does or the new owners do, let alone, us just chatting about it, a day removed from this crazy news.
Man, the NBA is supposed to be quiet in August.
Seriously.
You were supposed to catch a break.
Nah, it's a year-round job. I love it. We get the schedule, I think, today. And then I would like to say that we get the Kawhi news of whatever's going to happen with the Clippers in late August after the schedule. But, I can't promise you that. But that's usually when the bad news comes, late August. So, yeah, this has definitely not been a quiet summer for me and for the NBA fans. So I'm happy about it. I don't mind. I don't need a lot of vacation. My wife's cool with it. As long as we get to see a movie or go out on a date here and there, we'll be all right.
Well, Eric, we appreciate you waking up early, letting the dog out, and talking to us.
Appreciate it.
Who let the dog out?
Eric did.
Okay,
as it turns
got
out.
it. All right.
As it turns out. All right. Thanks a lot, Eric. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
There's Eric Pincus talking about the sale of the Lakers. When we come back, we'll go to Ute and Cougar Camp with Jordan Gross and Aaron Roderick. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. It's time to go to Ute and Cougar Camp. Let's start with Utah offensive line coach Jordan Gross.
Jordan, how comfortable are you feeling now as a coach, now that you've had spring? I know it's still a lot to go, but how comfortable are you feeling right now?
Yeah, feeling very settled into the role. Just the people, the offense, the way Coach Scally wants things done. Definitely excited and anxious for focusing right now on training camp and making sure I'm as prepared as I can be and giving these players everything they need to succeed. Supporting the vision that Coach Scally's got in place for this thing, and then, man, anxiously anticipating the first game at Rice Eccles. I've been in that stadium a ton of times, but never in this role. So that'll be a new experience. I just got to go jump in and get my feet wet with that. But so far, so good.
Coach, who are some of the players from the last time you saw them in the spring to now the start of fall camp who have made the biggest growth in their game, would you say?
Cedric Jefferson's had a really great summer and off season from that springtime to now. He wasn't on this roster last season, came in from Montana State and put on a lot of great weight and just a grinder every day. He's done a fantastic job. Ike Garcia also started spring ball not able to participate, coming back from his injury from last season. And by the end of spring ball, he was looking great, and now that's just continued on into camp. Our veteran guys, Al Harrison, his name comes up a lot. It's just so exciting to see him in this role with the opportunity to be a starting center, and he's waited a really long time for that. And give him a lot of flack about how old he is, but that experience at the same time is so dang valuable, and he's just been rock solid for us. I mean, honestly, I could go down the list. Obot is as advertised, and he's just put on the weight that's needed to put himself in contention for a lot of reps this season as well. So really, really proud of the work those guys have done, and hats off to Coach Saunders and his staff with the weight room. Productivity this summer was really above and beyond anything I would expected to have had happen in that short amount of time.
To build off of that, the summer workouts, there's been a lot of talk of that this week, how players benefited from that. What do you, as the offensive line coach, what can you take away in the first week of fall camp? Obviously, the next step is putting on the pads and all that, and seeing the benefits there.
Most every player put on weight this summer, and we want everybody as big as humanly possible to still be able to move and play your position. And so what was nice about witnessing the summer program was with those big guys were moving constantly, dynamically, and doing cardio stuff, pushing things. So it's not as if the goal is just to sit around and eat a bunch of steaks and get as big as we can. Now, that being said, anytime you put weight on, so Zaraway Williams is a great example. Zaraway, one point this summer, was up to 331. And, that's at a body fat percentage under 26, which is just incredible. But that's still more weight than he played at last season. So what I've witnessed early in camp was that the guys got to get used to that added weight, even though it's muscular density and the body composition information says, man, this is the right thing that we've done with this weight gain. That just takes a little time to get used to moving around an extra 10 or 15 pounds. And that's the way camp always is, especially for the big guys on both sides of the ball. You start running around and pushing on each other. That cardio that you did in the summer just isn't the same. And so day 2 was a lot better than day 1, and now I expect the rest of this week to just continue to climb.
Assuming the starting 5 isn't necessarily locked in, maybe not even your first few weeks of the season, how many offensive linemen do you feel are comfortable kicking off Big 12 football today? Yeah,
great question. It's just been such a cool experience watching these guys embrace this opportunity to contribute, where for the last few seasons there was just some pretty solidified starters on that O-line. And so, I would say that I feel that there's 10 guys that we could take into a game and we could play football with. And that number could grow or shrink depending on what we see the rest of the way through camp. Doesn't mean that everybody's the same level of player and each one of those guys are the exact same, but they've really done an incredible job of buying into what we're doing and getting themselves to be able to compete. And that's what you want as a position coach, is to have competition and guys pushing themselves in our own room so nobody's comfortable. And when they're hungry like that, I'm not comfortable, because I know they have a mission that they're on individually and as a unit. So I have to be ready with all the information they need, all the meeting time they need, all the film study they need, all the tips and all the individual technique drills we can do, so that I'm giving them every chance to seize the opportunities they have.
Is there a certain point in fall camp where you want to establish a starting 5 so they can start getting chemistry with each other going into the season?
I wouldn't say we have a date in mind. Coach Scally runs the show, so I would lean on him a little bit to determine if there was a hard line in the sand we had to arrive at. My position group is the biggest on the field. So it's rare that you have everybody fully healthy, fully available every day at practice. So we could start a starting 5 right now. I would guess that Keith Olson would be on that list, but he's not practicing because he's got a sore hamstring right now. So O-line is always a work in progress and always fluidity to it. And starter mentality is what we talk about more in our room than being a starter, because yes, perfect example, yesterday in a drill, we're doing, Nick Halleck, who's a really bright future here as a young guy for us, but he's further down the depth chart. Guys are, whatever happens in the drill, all of a sudden, I need a guard, Nick, get in there. And Nick's running with 2-minute drill with, the second group, whereas that wasn't where he was at to start the day. So that creates a pretty battle-tested mentality for our guys, and, man, I would sure embrace that way of thinking.
Last one with Ben.
You talked about potentially having 10 guys that you could, if there was a game tomorrow, you could go in and fall with. When you've got that many guys that are fighting for a starting job, what needs to happen for the communication and that cohesion that needs to develop over the course of time for a really solid unit as opposed to the individual players?
Yeah, that's a great question. I firmly believe in honest communication with the players. When we exited spring ball, we did one-on-ones, Coach Gerke and I, directly telling everybody where you ended up on the depth chart, what we see you need to work on, and what you're good at. And some of those things aren't really easy to tell young kids, but that information is critical for them to know where they stand. And so then we did the same thing coming out of summer before we started camp. Here's what you can expect rep-wise. Here's where you're at. And really just not making it the elephant in the room, right? Open conversation about that we are in competition, that we're all one team, that you got to have a starter mentality. And you've got to show love to everybody, treat everybody the same, be the same fairness, and hold yourself accountable. We're in meetings. We have meetings this morning. I put a diagram up on the film or up on the board, and there's mistakes on there. Man, guys, I screwed that up. That is not good. I got to do better than that. If you guys see something, say something. And so we all know that the ego is kept at the door when we come to that O-line room. And, man, you might not be selected as the starter, but your value is great in our O-line room and on our team.
There's Utah offensive line coach Jordan Gross. Now here's BYU's offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick.
Week 2, how you feeling?
Good. Off to a good start. We're only can't draw too many conclusions yet, but we have a good team, and I like what we're doing out here.
As you look at your offensive line, there's obviously a bit of a shuffle, but you have some mainstays like Bruce back. How much does that help to have veteran guys that can obviously just step in and play right away?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest strength of our whole offense right now, is just a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps in big games, and guys that know what they're doing. We're farther along than we've ever been in terms of knowing the offense, and it always starts with the line. Those guys they have a lot of information to process every play, and so those veteran guys are really critical to our success.
For being a relatively young room, just when I talk about returning reps, it feels like the wide receiver room could also be deep at the same time. Does that make sense? How do you feel about that group?
Yeah, I like those guys, man. They're playing good football out here, and they're a good group. People haven't seen them do it on game day yet, but I'm really confident in those guys, and I like what they're doing so far.
How would you say the connections are going so far between the quarterback position and the outside guys, the wideouts?
Good so far. Yeah, we're only 5 practices in. We need to keep developing that chemistry. It takes time. It's just every single rep adds up, and when you get to the games, you want it to be the 1,000th time that they've thrown this ball, in this situation when you're calling that play on third down. Hopefully you've banked 1,000 reps at it, and so that's what we're trying to accomplish out here, and we're making progress.
At tight end, if Roger and Walker were, say, 2 of your top guys, how good is that collection of tight end talent based on what you've coached here yet?
Really good. This is the best tight end group we've had since I've been here as a group, and Roger and Walker are 2 of our best players, and they will play in the game together a lot. Those guys are a big part of what we're doing. Thanks.
You said a couple of times last year that the whole playbook was open to Bear.
Yeah.
How do you enhance that this year as he becomes a sophomore?
Yeah, he knows it even better now. I mean, he's a really smart kid. Almost every play, he has multiple options to get us into the best play possible. And we give him parameters, but he's a smart dude, and he has smart players around him too. That's one of our strengths here, is we have smart kids, and so we're a team that's we're gonna try to get in the best play we can every snap.
Will it feel like it's opened up maybe a little more for him this year as a sophomore?
Yeah, I mean, I think he feels it. I don't know if everybody else will notice it, but I think he definitely feels it. And sometimes him getting us into the right play, it might be a boring 3-yard run play, but maybe the first play we had would have been a sack, and so he gets us into a 3-yard gain that everyone in the stands would never notice, but it's actually he just did a really good thing for us to get us to that next play. And so there's a lot of things like that going on out here where he's really given us a chance to, I think, be more explosive this year.
What about Sione Moa? Just having him back, what options does he give you?
Well, he's a really good player. Sione, like LJ, is a good runner. He's a good blocker, and he's a very good receiver. And Sione is a super athlete. He's one of the best athletes on our team, and he's had some bad luck staying healthy. But if he's healthy and he can stay healthy, he'll be a big part of our offense.
Coach, you've been in OC now for a while. You might be even a veteran, people would say. What's your favorite part of coming out here every day, spending all that time working? What's your favorite part of being an OC here at BYU?
I enjoy watching the players improve, watching players develop. And with that development, I like seeing our offense develop, where you install some concept or some scheme. You teach it to the players, you show them film, then they drill it in practice, and we work it as a team, and you see that process of refining your schemes and getting better at them. And while that's happening, you see individual players develop and get better. I mean, that's the most gratifying part for me, is just seeing those guys improve and the enjoyment they get out of playing the game. It's fun to be around those guys.
Like you said, it's only 5 practices in, but as of now, what excites you the most about this offense? What do you think the fans are going to be most excited to see?
Well, I just think that you're going to see a team that's tough, that plays really hard, and we got a lot of weapons, and I think we're a team that can win any type of game. We want to be the type of offense that can win any type of game any way we have to win it. If we have to run the ball and grind it out in bad weather or something like that, we feel like we can do that. If we need to come from behind and throw the ball around then we feel like we can do that too. We want to be a balanced team, but I think what people are going to enjoy seeing is just that we're going to be a really tough, hard-nosed team that's going to play really, really hard and play with a lot of energy and a lot of passion.
A couple of seasons ago, you had made a comment that, kind of looking back on the year, that maybe in the grand scheme of things, you maybe had added too many new players to the mix, and it took a little bit longer to get everybody on the same page. Mm-hmm. When you look back on that, how much do you think that realization has helped you guys over the last couple of years as you navigated the off seasons and bringing in personnel for the upcoming years?
Yeah, well, first of all, we've lost fewer players to the portal than most programs do, and so I think that's been one of our strengths, is we've had a lot of continuity with players staying in the program, returning, and then we just fill in, we plug a hole here and there with a transfer portal guy or whatever. I think when you're in a situation like we were our first year in the Big 12, where we had to bring in quite a few transfers, then your execution's probably going to suffer a little bit, just because it takes time to get that continuity. So we've been very successful with transfers here. Most of the transfers we brought in have been really good for us. We just want to retain our team every year, and then just a guy here, a guy there. That way we can keep our execution at a high level.
When players come back to camp, what's one thing that really impresses you when they get here, and then maybe one thing that when they come back, maybe a player that frustrates you, maybe?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Nowadays, it's not really they come back. I mean, they're here all summer. We've been around these guys all summer, and there really isn't. It's not like the old days where, hey, see you next fall at the end of spring ball. They've been here all summer working, and our team's in really good shape. I've been impressed with how much work they put in, and we've been able to be around them a lot. The rules are different now than they used to be, so it's just a different situation now.
There's BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL.
The NFL preseason Picking up steam, half dozen games. The Raiders rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza, up and down. He got 4 drives, threw for 97 yards and a touchdown. Cardinals won 27-14. A common story, PK. 16-0 in college, but it's a different game when you get to the NFL, even in the preseason.
He's going to be something. It's going to be Fernando Mania. When we sit here on March 1st, we're going to look back and just say, oh. And you can quote me.
Okay, I will. Sounded like you might be working on some lyrics there, but I wasn't sure.
I just going with my heart as usual.
Okay. The Steelers, well, they got themselves a veteran quarterback who doesn't need to play in the regular season, but they've also got themselves a quarterback who's in his 40s, so they better be developing a young guy. Drew Lock gets his chance, 10 of 13 for 153 yards and 2 scores. Steelers beat the Packers 28-9. I should have mentioned Gardner Minshew, 14 of 16 for 101 yards. I will.
Mention it. Go ahead.
For the Cardinals. There you go. I did. I mentioned it.
What did you do?
Gardner Minshew, 14 of 16 for 101 yards. There you go. Young quarterbacks, who's going to break out?
Gardner Minshew's not a young quarterback.
Nah, he's not anymore, is he?
I don't think you were talking about him, though, were you?
I was going to say, are you talking about Gardner or are you talking about Fernando?
And actually, man, what a story. He was going to quit, and then Leach picked him up, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Talking about resurrection.
And here he's just still in the league. I mean, he's probably not a prime-time, big-time quarterback, but paycheck's coming. And he's got the pension and everything, and those are cool stories.
Anthony Richardson, 11 of 14 for 145 yards for the former Florida quarterback. Colts and Patriots played to a 13-13 tie.
Why didn't they go into a kickoff?
Right? 45-yard field goal. Now back up. Now 50-yard field goal. Now back up a 55-yard field goal. 3 more games tonight. Bucks and Jets on the NFL Network, and the Broncos and the Falcons are on ESPN Unlimited if you want to check those games out. Chicago Bears will not change their name if they build a stadium across state lines in Indiana. That's according to the team chairman, George H. McCaskey. We will be the Chicago Bears whether we're in Arlington Heights or whether we're in Hammond. Our focus is on Hammond. That's where we're advancing our efforts. That's where the bulk of our time, attention, and resources are being devoted.
No, I don't care what he says. If they build it, I will change it.
We'll get to that. Nice. Way to tie it into the headlines, though. Free agent corner Terrion Arnold is signed with the Seattle Seahawks on a 1-year deal. He's facing 8 felony charges stemming from a kidnapping and robbery in Tampa, Florida in February. Subject to being disciplined by the NFL, could be suspended or deemed ineligible to play by the league. We were talking about something else earlier this week, PK, not this story, and you said it is curious how some people get a second chance, some people get an 8th chance, some people never get the second chance. It just seems to depend. Circumstances and talent.
Well, talent for sure, but we were talking about specifically Tony Romo, and he's an analyst, and he's fine, and they're all fine. I don't really care whether he has the job or not, but doesn't look like he may not get a second chance, but others do. I mean, I'm not passing judgment. I'm certainly not advocating for what he did by any stretch, but yeah, some get more chances than others, and I guess it's an individual thing, but I just find the whole human behavior is fascinating unto itself, for sure.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Army head coach Jeff Monken has a new 5-year contract, entering his 13th season at the helm of the Black Knights. He's won 89 games, second winningest coach in school history. The record's 112, so 3, 4, 5 years, somewhere in there. Maybe he gets that. He led him to the American Conference Championship in 2024. They went 12-2 that year, so that's a pretty good run, PK. 13 years, and you're getting a 5-year deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when with Niumatalolo, Navy was flying high. Air Force has usually been a level of consistent, but it seemed like Army sucked. And
Army was the one who couldn't get it together.
They had 5 straight coaches before him who left with losing records.
and he'll be he's 59 years old. So yeah, I can see him doing that and being the winningest coach and being right there and doing what they do. I've been to 2 of the 3, and they're special places. I've not been to Army. Actually, I've been to the Academy many, many times over.
What got you to Navy?
Just back there at the time. I've written recommendations for young people. They've asked me to do that, and I've known close friends who have kids there. So, and I lived close enough anyway. It wasn't right down the street, obviously.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
#NBA.
What is Bradley Beal going to do? There was a push for him to go to Miami and join Giannis Antetokounmpo, but instead he's staying with the Clippers. 2-year contract, $13.2 million. He will stay in L.A.
He really has fallen off the map, man.
Yeah, really.
Went to Phoenix and
he missed the entirety of last year with a hip injury, if I recall.
So it's like he retired. He went to Phoenix to live in the sun, and his game, I don't know what happened on that, so I'm not expecting much. Maybe he can have a bounce back. I did make a call, find out what was going on with the Laker deal, and what I had heard was that what's-his-face, Walter, he borrowed some money to buy the Lakers, but I guess it was from insurance, and the Securities and Exchange needed to approve it. It wasn't done, and so he has to pay back the loans immediately, and so he needs that money. And the other guys, what was it, Kushner and Iger, yeah, they were ready to go in Vegas, but some guy named Adam called them and said, hey, the Lakers are going to be for sale. And that's why they pivoted.
So they got tipped off.
Yeah. Yeah. The league got in touch with them and said, "How would you be interested in this?" And they said, "Absolutely." And they pivoted, and that's how it came together so quick, because they already had the thing in place for Vegas expansion. So it was very easy to just change over because it was already there. It's not like they were putting together a group and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And so it was sure, and they make that call because, it was highly unusual that it came together so quickly. And but it did, and in my conversation, that makes complete and total sense.
Yeah.
So now he'll have that money to take care of the other side, and because it's related to the Dodgers, what's going to happen. And basically nothing from over there, and away you go.
The NBA schedule is out. The Utah schedule is there, and I think, PK, you need to go on the road with the team. I would suggest Friday, January 22nd and Sunday, January 24th. They're going down to play Phoenix twice in 3 days in January. Can't complain about a schedule that has you doing that.
Well, by the time I get to Phoenix, you'll be rising.
Nice. Nice. Anything else about this schedule? People always wonder about national stuff. One ESPN game, one Prime Video game. Got, it looks like a handful of games, 4 of them slated for NBC. So, half dozen national TV appearances for people who
I would be lying if I looked at it. And I thought, I'm going to take a stance because I know you're going to look at it. And I'm not a schedule guy, and I was going to hold true to my principles.
They're going to open the season Wednesday, October 21st in Memphis. The home opener is Friday, October 23rd against New Orleans. And Walker Kessler and the Lakers are here for Game 3, Sunday, October 25th. David Locke with more on the schedule, the Jazz, the sale of the Lakers. We'll talk with David coming up at 8:30. DJ and PK.
#Major League Baseball.
Field of Dreams. Kyle Schwarber living the dream. Not 1, but 2 homers launched into the cornfields beyond the outfield wall. Philadelphia Phillies end up beating the Twins as they return to Dyersville, Iowa. 7-1 the final score.
Yeah, wow.
How about those Hall of Famers walking in from the corn? You love the theater of it all?
Absolutely, man. It's just baseball has a romanticism that few can match. It just does. Whether you like it or not is not the point. They can reconnect, and for whatever reason, football movies, basketball movies, they don't resonate to the level that a baseball movie does. It just doesn't. And then that thing, who would have known, what did we say, 45 years ago or whatever it was, or 38 years ago when it came out? I think, as I said,
It's 37. It was 1989.
89, yeah. That this would have happened. I mean, I would have think that when they made that movie, they're not thinking of that. And here we are, and somebody at MLB said, hey, we need to connect that. Because people love that stuff, and they walk out of the cornfields, and you see guys that were your childhood players, and maybe in some cases your heroes. And Raleigh Fingers now, the only difference, maybe a couple of pounds, and the mustache is gray. But other than that, and it takes you back to an innocent childhood. Hopefully you had an innocent childhood.
Yeah, right, to go back to.
And to a better, not necessarily a better time.
We might be romanticizing it, but we get the
time.
idea. We get the idea.
Yeah.
It's fun to go back decades and, there's my guy.
And that you see them walk out. Tony Perez, Big Red Machine. He has that same smile that he had 45, 50 years ago. And fortunately, he's still alive. I mean, just, you're trying to look. Okay. Oh, who's that guy? Who's that? I know that guy. I remember that guy. As they're walking out, you know what I mean? And they're coming out, and the people are clapping. It's just nothing like it. If you don't like it, change the station right now. I'm ordering you. I do not want you to hear my voice. Because I know you won't.
Reading a story leading up to that, the guy who was given credit in the story was the commissioner.
Great.
Yeah, he was there visiting in 2016 and thought, we can do something with this.
He was right.
The whole, just romanticizing the game and creating an event, something that can be marketed and something that people can really buy into. And then it got slowed down. They were going to try to do it earlier and the pandemic hit, but 2021, 2022, there's a push to do it next year. Obviously, we don't even know if they're going to be playing at this point next year, so hard to invest in a game if you know it may or may not happen. I got to believe they're going back there, though. I mean, why wouldn't you? I think these specialty games that they've spread around the country for one reason or another, I think Williamsport resonates. That's been a good idea. I went to Birmingham one time. There's got to be someplace else to go, some other story to tell, to play a game. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's like you said, man, the movie, how could you possibly know? I mean, you hear about people shooting movies, and there's always a discussion on the set and the whispers. What do you think? How's it going? And sometimes it's going well, and then it falls apart, and sometimes it's going poorly, and they pull it together, and sometimes they feel like they've captured the lightning in a bottle.
I think at its core, even if you don't like baseball or care about it or follow it or any of that, because of the time of year, it's a summer night where you can hang with people you like in a relaxed atmosphere.
And baseball knows they can get the stage either mostly or completely to themselves at this time of year, staging these events. They can pick a time when most of the other sports are pretty quiet in the summer, and they can have the big story. Dodgers, their closer Edwin Diaz struggled again, gave up a 2-run ninth-inning lead against the Brewers. Brewers come from behind and win 5-4. Dodgers say they're sticking with the star, but having a closer who's struggling, PK, not a great recipe in the postseason. They've got 6 weeks to figure it out.
Oh, well, he hasn't been there effective. He's been injured most of the season, but he hasn't really done a thing this whole season for him.
It's been a struggle. Jacob deGrom left the Rangers game with the Angels due to right triceps fatigue after just 2 innings. He's going to have an MRI. He thinks he's going to be all right. Talking confidently, going to have an MRI nonetheless. And the Yankees coming off that 10-run game. Got shut out 1-0 on 4 hits. Down go the Yankees. Seattle gets the win there. Bees lose to El Paso 11-8. Tony Park's on the call tonight, 6:20, right here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
#RSL.
Real Salt Lake advancing in the League's Cup. They're going to face Leon August 25th, 6th, or 7th. We'll get the date later, but in late August, they're going to play that quarterfinal match.
Did you say 25, 6, or 4?
25th, 6th, or 7th. I did not.
Sitting cross-legged on the floor?
I did not go to the old Chicago song.
Nice poll.
Waiting for the break of day?
That was old school right there. Waiting for the break of day. Is that Peter Cetera?
Way back, yeah. I mean, they've got about 87 iterations of that.
Yeah. League's Cup in the offing right now. They are focused on Minnesota United at America First Field tomorrow night as MLS play resumes. Pablo Mastroeni is going to join us at 8 o'clock. We'll talk with him about that. The Utah Royals host Bay FC tonight. They'll be at America First Field. First kick at 8 o'clock. Coverage on the Zone starts at 7:30. That's what's trending, brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. David Locke, radio voice of the Jazz, will be along. We'll talk Lakers sale and Jazz schedule with him at 8:30. And it's Free Ticket Friday. We're giving a family 5-pack of tickets to Aerofest 2026. Styx and Chicago. Nice job, PK. At Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 30th. Coming up, the question of the day is next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Joining us now, it is the head coach of the Utah State Aggies, Bronco Mendenhall.
I know you're so process-driven and there's a plan to every part of the season, but is this your favorite part?
There's an excitement that comes to the start of every season for sure. I would have to say, just in terms of full transparency, I really like the off-season. I like the molding, forming, crafting, forging the next team through the weight workouts and through the runs and through the early morning workouts and through spring practice. I think that's my favorite era. Nothing takes away from the season, or can it take the place of the season, and the excitement going into today certainly at a really high level. I think foundationally that my favorite part is the formation of the team, and now this part where you get to see kind of the fruition of the formation of your program.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals, surrounding people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. KSLSports.com/contest, and listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Question of the morning. The Jazz schedule is out. How many games are you going to?
Yeah, a lot.
Waiting for that since the moment you
I
posted
just thought of it.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. When you asked it.
May he play forever. It's 12 minutes a game off the bench for decades. Block Lennox says, no games, but I'm going to watch them all from my computer chair while I work in the middle of the day, because Straya, which is Australian for I live in Sydney. Jazz fans
Very
everywhere,
cool.
PK.
Okay. That's...
Yeah, I clicked on that because I was trying to, because Australia, clicked on it. Sure enough, he lives in
because of Joe, or is
New
he
South Wales.
Expatriate, moved down there? I wonder what his story is. There can't be a lot of Jazz fans in Australia. Or maybe there are because of Joe, and Exum didn't really pan out because of the injuries and all that stuff, and who knows if he would have been good anyway. But Joe was certainly a success story, and Joe is a people person, so maybe that's it, man. Maybe I once I was downtown, and I don't know what I was doing. I might have been going to the game, but a guy asked me, hey, how far is the Delta Center? I said, oh, it's just like a couple of blocks right over there. And he says, I'm from Australia. And, I obviously knew the accent there, knew he was from someplace, maybe New Zealand or,
right.
Something close to it. And it was in the early days of Joe, and he did say, yeah, I wanted my guy, Dante Exum. And
okay.
It might have even been that first year or second year, or early in the Exum run. And then I asked him, what about Joe? And he really didn't know a whole lot. And then I wonder if I would have met him 10 years later. because Joe had himself a brilliant career. And obviously his best days were right here.
I'm going to guess that he's an Australian because of Joe. Going back on his timeline, it seems like it's all Australian stuff. So if he left Utah and moved down there, it was a long time ago.
And Joe, well, not necessarily Utah, but Joe's wife, what's her name?
Renee and the kids.
Renee and the kids. Yeah. The netball is a female sport there, and it's very, very big, and she was one of the better players. So she has or certainly had a little bit of a following too. But that's cool, yeah. And then daytime games, I guess, with the time difference. It's tomorrow today.
Tends to be, depending on where you are in the country, about 7 hours, and depends on daylight savings time here, but about 7 hours earlier tomorrow. So we're doing our show at like 1:24 in the afternoon there on Saturday. It's early Saturday afternoon there. The Jazz schedule out. How many games you going to go to? And Tyson says, well, I guess it just depends on how lucky I am calling in on Wednesdays.
All right, Win Tickets Wednesday. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully, as I said, Tyson, hopefully he wins.
Mickey says I usually go to one or two. I'm poor.
Well, it does cost, and I'm very sensitive to that situation there. You can't expect all fans to go because of the fact of just the price, and it's not just the tickets; it's parking and all sorts of stuff. If you want to get something to eat, blah blah blah. We know it costs, right? We know it costs, and some people literally are priced out.
Disposable income can be hard to come by, and it takes more disposable income than ever to get into these games. Brian says it depends on the price of tickets. Hopefully, I'm going to see the Pistons and the Heat games.
Be Cade Cunningham fan and
Giannis.
Or maybe Bam Adebayo.
Could be Bam.
I was Jaime Jaquez, but he's gone now.
Yeah, he was in the Giannis deal.
He grew up in the Ventura, Oxnard area and went to Westwood and then went to Miami. This is going to be a shock to live in Milwaukee.
In Ventura, he wasn't far from the water. Westwood, he wasn't far from the water.
He must have been when they told him, like, oh, come on. You're kidding me, man.
His teammates, I don't want to hear about your problems.
And then he's got to spend most of his, at least half the time in Milwaukee. Yeah. I can remember Don McClain told a story. He was a big UCLA guy and always media friendly and has done a lot of broadcasting. And he was talking about he's a Simi Valley guy and then played there. And he was playing for the Nets. And he says, and they're on the bus in Phoenix, and they're going to the arena, and he looks down right next to him, just stoplight, is Dan Marley. I don't remember if he said he was shirtless, but he had this great tan, and he was in a convertible, and it's in January, and he thought, this sucks. I want to play here.
How many games you going to? Michelle says none. Go Spurs.
Oh, go home, Spurs. Spurs.
Brad says it remains to be seen. Maybe none. Maybe some. Brad's playing it by ear. It's not all Caps related. Daniel says it depends on how many Saturday home games we have.
Did you count them up?
I've not.
Saturday.
They do have one on Halloween, which is going to conflict with college football. 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Halloween. That's a Saturday.
The home opener you said was Saturday, didn't you?
Home opener is Friday.
Oh, Friday.
Friday, October 23rd, and the Lakers are in on Sunday. They skip over Saturday there in the opening week.
So they're playing a matinee on Halloween, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Leave the Saturday night Halloween parties and the Saturday night trick-or-treaters.
Who are they playing?
They can, everyone can double up here. If you go to the game Saturday, October 31, you're going to see the Portland Trail Blazers at 1 o'clock.
All right. Definitely a winnable game there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the Devils are coming in for in Provo, and I think that is the Utes. Are they at Cincinnati? I believe they're away.
I think you're right.
Halloween. That'll be a tough follow, though, for me anyway. With the
on a big football Saturday,
and that's deep into the college conference season, and I'm sure there'll be ramifications for all 4 of those teams.
They'll be feeling high stakes at that point.
Yeah.
I guess Portland is the kind of game we'll look at as a swing game. That's a team they could finish in front of, a team they could finish behind.
I don't see it. I see the Jazz being better.
Blow right by them. Better be a W at home.
And I like what Portland is doing, but they've got a new coach, and they've got what's that? The owner's scrimping, and when you give him a 1-year deal, and which is unheard of. And so I'm wondering if that guy will get in the way. Condon, I think his name is, right there.
Tom Dundon.
Dundon. He owns the hockey team in
Carolina
Carolina.
Hurricanes.
They won the whole thing there, but over here it seems like he's pinching pennies. And I wonder what effect that is. There going to be a trickle-down effect where the Jazz right now doesn't seem to be the case. And it seems like everything is pointing in a positive direction.
As far as that BYU game, I'm figuring there must be an 8:30 game for a TV network somewhere. ASU at BYU, same time as or same day as Kansas State at Colorado. Those are the only 2 possibilities for the late game.
Well, I hope it's Kansas State at Colorado.
Yeah, Utah and Arizona are both on the road.
Because I got to get home and pass out Hershey's chocolate bars. I don't.
You're not skipping.
I go big time. I blow out the budget for Halloween.
A kid. You're not one of those turnout.
We're getting like the Costco boxes of candy bars.
Yeah, but not crap. I mean, some hard.
You're not giving out candy corn at the Kinahan's
and not
household.
Hollow chocolate. Every Easter when I got hollow chocolate, give it to the dog when no one was looking. I want the solid
dog
stuff.
gets the subpar candy. Dog's all hyped up on sugar.
Yeah. That's what I want. And I live in an older area now, but a lot of there's still enough kids, and then people bring their grandkids over and the line out is out the door. It's to the sidewalk because they know that I don't skimp. I splurge. I'm going all the way.
I guess I missed out on not going to the Kinahan house on Halloween.
Yeah, and I'll even take repeat customers. I don't mind. You can come back. It's almost like a buffet.
The Kinahan Halloween buffet.
Yeah.
You need a sign. You got to hang that across.
And I've got several levels of chocolate, and I say, the choice is yours.
Entry-level chocolate?
Hey, Chuckarama. You need to put welcome to the Kinahan
You got your
Halloween
milk chocolate?
buffet.
Yeah.
You got your dark chocolate. You got the bite size. You got the full size.
Exactly.
And you know what you don't have? The hollow chocolate.
But then, if you're super nice to him, maybe a king-size one in it for you.
Ooh. No, easily, man. Ooh. And then when it gets closer to 8, I am really loose.
You're just dumping the back in their bag.
Can't have this stuff left over. Then you just got to go to the gym and run it all off.
Well, yeah. And maybe this year it might be a little bit better because there's no school the next day. I always felt like, oh, man, I would be made fun of by the neighborhood kids because I went to parochial school and had to wear a uni every day, which I never really minded, but somehow they would tease you on that. But because of the All Saints Day, November 1st, I always got the next day off. So for 8 years, I taunted back at them fetchers, you got to go to school the next day. I'm sleeping in.
Nice.
And then my parents both worked, and it's just me and the dog alone with all this candy. I win.
Oh, so you had a heyday, like
yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
Our neighbors are all about the Halloween. They'll be going wild. They'll have inflatable ghosts or whatever. The yard, the roof, everything will be decorated. See the Kinahans match that up. Or maybe you just invest totally in the chocolate.
I don't do any decorations. If the woman wants to do it, she can do it. And I give her freedom to express herself. as she sees fit.
How many Jazz games you going to this year? The schedule's out. And while Daniel's waiting on the Saturday games, Earl has said, I'm hopefully going to one game. I would probably go to 10 if I could afford it.
Yeah, I can see that.
10 is once or twice a month. I've always been curious about that. Some of the season ticket holders, it's quite the investment in time. And we always talk about the money because we always hear about tickets, price, and all that. But it's something to block out, 3 home games in a week when they have those and keep showing up.
Yeah, I mean,
you got the secondary market
business, and they can give them away to clients and whatnot, or employees. That tends to be the case. But I believe they have all those types of packages there in the season ticket sales. As far
they
as
do.
I don't know what they are.
Half
5
season,
games, 10
quarter,
games,
yeah,
whatever.
they package
they have
them
a
up.
special that you can go. Yeah, I wish there could be for every, especially for the kids, and if you're a hardcore, that you could go to at least one game. Now, if you got the money, great, but I'm talking about people who are living paycheck to paycheck and really have to worry about that stuff, that they should have an opportunity to go, because the team is for them too, just as much as it is for the big corporation people. I saw a thing on social media saying, the Field of Dreams is great and all, and we love it, but I wish that the locals could go and not have it be all these highfalutin people who come into town, or in this case, into that area for that game. And we know that. We've heard about the Super Bowl being so corporate versus the Joe average fan. So I wish there was a way that if you've proven yourself to be a hardcore fan, that you get to go to at least one game a year.
I did read a thing that with the first game in Iowa, they did a deal restricting the tickets by zip code just to the state of Iowa. Now, I got to believe there's some corporate people in the 8,000 mix, but when they do the general sale, and I don't know if that's 1,000 tickets or 5,000, they put in some temporary bleachers, so the attendance is about 8,000. But they did try to get some Iowans into that Field of Dreams deal. At least in the beginning.
A guy like you can go and just buy a house there for that game.
That's a lot of work. Caden says, I went to 8 Jazz games last year, I think, maybe 9. So Caden is that fan who goes once or twice a month.
Well, that'll be a great opportunity this year because you should see the boys trying to win. And I'm going to bet that has Will Hardy been ejected from a game during his 4 years? This will be the first year.
It's going to be different. A little more fire in the sideline.
Right. The fourth quarter isn't going to be about development. It's going to be about winning the freaking game.
No more leaning on the table.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how his demeanor is, because he full well knows now the time to win is literally right now. And even if you don't have a roster capable competing for the title, you still have to win, because the chances of you not making the playoff, making the final seem really, really slim, as opposed to not making the playoff, blah, 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 making the playoff, and then making the playoff again and getting a better seed, and then that third year of winning really have an opportunity to take off. I mean, that's usually the history there, especially with these young dudes and a kid like Peterson. I mean, he should be well on his way into his third year to whatever he's not necessarily a finished product at the third year, but well onto his way of being what we think and hope he can become. And we need to only look as far as George, because he had the breakout year in the third year, right? And we all said, bye, George. And then it's so funny, we're talking about Keontae George and Darren Peterson, and all of a sudden we're overlooking Ace Bailey, where at this time last year it was all Ace Bailey, right?
He's still a big story.
Right.
Even if a couple other stories available their way to the front of the stage, he's still a big story.
At minimum, they're now sharing it, but we still need to account for him and his development. And what can he become? We had Locke on last year talking about, he could be the leading scorer by February. Of course, that was before the draft and before we knew they were going to get with the lottery ball number 2 and all that stuff. So that just adds to it. A whole lot of intrigue going into this season here as far as what the individuals can become and then what the collective can become.
Harley says, I'm trying to hit the most Jazz and the most Mammoth games that I have ever attended in a single season. It's still not going to be a ton, but hopefully I can get a hold of some decently priced tickets once a month.
Great.
Harley's looking to get out.
Yeah. That'd be great. I think I saw a thing that said there's 20 times they play together, and during the course of the winter, there's only like 47 nights that one of them isn't playing.
And then for you and I, let's plug in college hoops into those 47 nights and see how many more of them go away.
I would think very few. I mean, I eat and go downstairs.
And then there's a game
and
on.
then resurface 4 hours later.
So there'd be very few left, not very few go away.
Right.
I mean, some of the 47 probably fall outside of the college basketball. Something in October.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Something in October, something in April. But, man, through December, January, February, it's very rare to have a night with nothing going on.
Yeah. And both teams are in the winning category. You're always developing, hopefully, while you're winning. That's what set Golden State back, is that they had these draft picks and they didn't develop. And now they are where they are, where they're sort of playing out the string, where if they would have had Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody, these high picks that they had, and they would be right now ready to share and bear a significant burden.
But it didn't work out.
It didn't work, yeah. As we see, draft picks just don't, so many of them don't pan out. Crazy.
All right, DJ and PK, hit us up on social media. The Jazz schedule is out. Curious how many you're going to. Of course, you can follow the games on TV, on the radio, read all about them, catch clips on social media. There's a lot of options.
I had a new way to describe me last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A new description for PK.
You can get to that.
All right, we'll do that next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
Joining the show now, college football writer for CBS Sports, John Talty. I was down at Big 12 Media Days, and the buzzword was unsustainable. Is the status quo unsustainable? And if so, how long in the future is that?
You go back to the start of NIL when guys were just starting to get paid, and you had athletic directors crying poor and how this is not sustainable. We can't do this. The issues that I feel like I've been hearing that for 5 years, and somehow the numbers keep going higher. The total numbers have probably 4x, 5x, if not more, than where they were back then. I do think for some conferences and some schools, you might eventually get that point where it's like, this is not worth it to us. We can't keep competing if such and such school is spending $50 million on their roster, and we're only spending $18 million on our roster, which there are Big 12 schools doing that this year. At a certain point, you say, can we win doing this, or do we have to find a different angle or focus on something else like basketball or another sport, and maybe we just try to get to a bowl, and that's where our aspirations are.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. Next week, you can win tickets to see Motley Crue with performances by Tesla and Extreme at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, September 21st. Listen to KSL Sports Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. We have so many tickets. We have a free tickets Friday coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, so stick around if you want to see Styx and Chicago. It's part of Aerofest 2026 coming to the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 30th. So those tickets coming up in the 8 o'clock hour today. Tons of news to get to today. Baseball, basketball, football. David Locke's going to be here at 8:30. Pablo Mastroeni's talking RSL at 8:05. We had NFL football last night. Story just breaking. The Texans think Graham Mertz tore his ACL in the game with the Chargers last night. They've got some additional testing to confirm the injury. More roster spots opening up as guys get hurt. One guy's problem is another guy's opportunity. We'll catch you all up to date on that. But first, we pause for a story from PK. You are wearing a new label, a new descriptive phrase, a new word. This is new territory. We've heard many things about you. He's really quiet. PK's sarcastic. PK's funny. There's some familiar ones out there. What have you got that's brand new?
We went to the Scotty McGuire concert at the Sandy Amphitheater last night. Got a little rain, but it was doable, and he's a young guy on the come in the country world, and fun time was had, and we went to have a burger before. Man, and the skies opened. Wow, I hadn't seen that kind of rain here in a long time. You get that kind of rain back east more than we do here, where it's really, really coming down. So we're sitting there and we're waiting for the rain to subside so we don't get soaked going out there. And I was watching the regionals and the Little League and all that, and I got up to go to the bathroom. These two guys smiling at me as I walked around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hi. And they said, oh, hi. And came back, and then we get to go up to leave. And the guy says to me, PK, keep doing what you're doing. You're a real hoot.
You're a hoot. You're a hoot.
I'm a hoot. I've never been called a hoot. I've been called a lot of things that I can't mention, and that's just my family. And so I went over, shook his hand, very friendly guy that I am.
I haven't heard that expression in a long time. I associate that more with my parents' and grandparents' generations.
My grandparents used to.
Yeah, your grandparents? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that they were grandparent age. Mm-hmm. I'd say maybe 40s or 50s or so.
Okay.
Not that old. Still got a lot of years to go. And I said, well, thank you. And then I always have this line. They're always looking for something, you know. And it's like when that red dot shines on me when I used to do television before I got bleep canned twice. Actually 3 times because I got dumped off the jazz stuff too. So I've been fired from television 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Bleep canned!
Nice, Yawk.
3 times.
That's going to be a fun drop to
3
use.
times. So I always feel like I got to leave them with something. So my wife and I get up, and I say, yeah, man, appreciate your, your listenership and following me. I said, I got to ask you one thing, though. If you run into my wife, don't tell me you've seen her here. You've seen me here. Oh, it works every time. It's like when I go to if I ever have to speak in front of golf people, I said, oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to next season. I got my ball retriever regripped.
I borrowed that one from you.
Every time.
I borrowed that one from you just to see, just test drive it. Nails. Just money.
So it always works.
Use it as if it's your own, people.
So I am a hoot.
I was up at Wasatch High last night, ran into a guy who has been listening to us since day one. He said he actually listened to MJB with when I was doing the show with Gordon and Ron Boone back in the day. And I asked him about his commute, and he goes, I'm a contractor. He says, I'm just doing my work. I'm in a house or whatever project I'm working on. I got the earphones on, just going. He says, my kids are sick and tired of me quoting you and talking about what you guys talk about. So there you go. Heber, hello.
Good, thank you.
All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, they're into the quarterfinals of the League's Cup. That's later this month. They will be back in MLS action tomorrow night against Minnesota United. Pablo's got several players emerging, young player emerging, somebody who's been hurt coming back, and then a young guy who's been hurt. So we'll talk with Pablo about the new faces and new names. That's next. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined once again by Real Salt Lake head coach Pablo Mastroeni. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Well, you got some help. You got some good news. You took care of business, and then other things broke your way. You have advanced to the League's Cup quarterfinals later this month. Congratulations on that. That is also going to mean another midweek game. And I think most people like 1 or 2 midweek games a month and then play every Saturday. You're playing twice a week, every week. You are drinking out of the fire hose right now. I know you got to do it, so you're just going to say, well, we got to do it and I don't worry about it. But is there a point where it's too much of a good thing, or you get minutes for all these guys so you don't have to listen to them complain about that, and that's a good thing?
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit of everything. But, again, I think we have to just deal with what's in front of us. And, I think the League's Cup, the first 3 games was a good dry run as to, rotating quite a few players, keeping the level high, some really good understanding of the way we want to play even with the changes that we made, and some good experience for the guys. And so, I think I always talk about team, and I think we're going to have to show that more than ever in the next few weeks. But I feel really good about where the group's at. And, I think when you have a little bit of momentum, magic can happen. So just staying really positive and getting everyone some minutes. And like you said, it'll keep everyone happy.
Yeah, see, Pablo, DJ, he's a little bit of a downer, but you and I, being Thunderbird Chiefs, we were just raised on positivity. I would think that it's, wow, this is great timing because you lose Gozo, and then you have an opportunity here, and you can practice till you're blue in the face, but there's nothing like a match or game as far as recreating it. That is the real stuff. That's where everything happens. And so now you have these games here, extra games, to, as you say, see what works and find out what you do going forward after losing a premier player.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think anytime there's a void, it's going to be filled. And sometimes the team might look a little bit different than it did when we had Gozo. But we still want to be, again, we want to be competitive. We want to be efficient with our work. And so different guys are carrying the load. One of the things I've been talking about is, Gozo was a real threat in that final third. And Zach Booth has done a really good job, but I think it'd be quite unfair to put all the burden on him. And so we've been asking our attacking players to make sure they end up in the box. Like, we need to be, goal dangerous now that Gozo's not here. And, I'd say of the 7 goals, 5 of them we've had, 4 or more players in the box at any one time. And anytime you do that, you pick up second balls, you're able to just knock it in. But so we've tweaked our tactics a little bit to make up for that. But then there's other guys stepping up, Lineker Rodriguez stepping up, Serge stepping up, Diego Luna stepping up, and so Morgan stepping up. And so it's just forced everyone to, pick up the 1 or 2% to make up for Gozo's absence. And in light of that, you see some really good performances. You give other guys opportunities. And so we can start to now look at our group a little bit differently than we did prior to Gozo leaving.
Booth and Lineker Rodriguez are young guys who are emerging. And then you've got Pablo Ruiz, who's been multiple injuries, multiple years, and he seems to be – it's a small snapshot, but this is like the best stuff we've seen out of him in 3 years. And then you got Arias there in the middle of the back three, who's both a young guy and coming back from injury. He's been so off the radar. What can you tell RSL fans about him? What is he like? What do you like about him? How is he to be around? Because I don't think people know anything about him.
Yeah, no, he's one of the brightest kids that has come to us. He's really, really bright, speaks really good English. Learned English in Colombia, and oftentimes that's a big hurdle to get over for kids coming from South America, and one that got adjusted to the culture, and then they got to learn the language, and then they got to learn the style of play and all these different things. And I think what's been really good for him, he's been able to build good camaraderie within the group because he does speak English, and he's just a great guy. He's just a genuine human being, and he's got a really good growth mentality. So he's learning as he goes. The game in Colombia is a lot slower. They walk the ball up the field, and here, everyone's pressing everyone. So he's had to, adapt on the fly. But I thought he played some really important minutes for us, played some really good games for us. And in light of Jay Glad not being around for the last couple months, we were thinking about maybe bringing in another center back, but I think we found a really good one who's ready to play and contributing significantly in these last 3 games. So just a great professional, great young man.
Did you know that Booth's first name is actually Chadwick?
Chadwick, yeah. It's so interesting when I look at the team sheet, PK. I'm like, who's Chadwick? Who's Chadwick?
He literally did that. I'm like, they're bringing in so many guys. Oh, wait, that's Zach. Okay, yeah.
You get mad at him. Do you ever call him his full name like a parent would do? No. Any of these guys? Chadwick?
No. To be fair, Zach is such a great, again, the one thing with our group is they're just great individuals. There's this, any mistakes they make, they're honest. They're never, contrived, and they're never thinking beyond just trying to do their best. So Chadwick's an amazing person, and he's showing some great flashes of quality.
Now, I know that you take time and go to meals with new guys, veterans, guys who are struggling, guys who need to step into a new role, and it's easier to bond and talk over food sometimes. I'm curious if you have ever gone with Chadwick to Eden, Utah. Have you been to Eden, Utah?
I don't know where that is.
I have not. I don't even know where that is either.
It's up in the mountains. It's by Pineview Reservoir. So it's like you go up to Ogden and you turn right and go up a canyon.
Huh. No, I'll ask him about it. I'll ask him about it, Eden.
Yeah, there's a big ski resort really close to where he is. So, yeah, he's not far from where the Olympic downhill was, actually. So,
interesting.
I'm wondering. I'm interested in this. Maybe nobody else is, but I'm curious. You came out of the break. You lost a couple of MLS games. Now you've been doing well in the Leagues Cup. How do these teams compare to the MLS teams?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I would say they're really comparable. The two teams that we played, Atalanta and Juarez, they were undefeated when they came to AFF, and so they'd beaten MLS opponents, rivals. And so I would say, they're on par with that. And I think the biggest difference, PK, is playing home and away. And I think that's true in, any league in the world. You're gonna have a lot more success at home than you are on the road. And so those first couple of games coming back from break were obviously LAFC, difficult place to play. Although we played well, we ended up losing that one. And then the Portland game where, we were winning until we got a red card. So there was a lot of little things that kind of took away from the performances. But at the end of the day, we didn't get the result. And so really just honing in on being the best version of ourselves. And we seem to, when we're at home, I don't know if it's because we're sleeping in our beds or if because we have the best 12th man in the league, the feeling that we get, the bravery that we play with. And again, I think the most important thing is scoring the first goal. And when you do that, you're able to really manage the game from a different perspective and play with a bit more calm. So I would say that's the biggest takeaway, but I would say that these games bring a lot of momentum in the locker room because, again, the belief is there. And if we can do it 2 games in a row, we can do it 3 games in a row, we can do it 4. We can now, we can start building upon each performance and not have to think about, we haven't won in a while. So I think these games are really, really important for the remainder of the season.
Kurt Schmid, Chief Soccer Officer, got that same question. He was on right before Leagues Cup started, and he felt like MLS had caught up with most of Liga MX, certainly the bottom and the middle. He said there were some big spending clubs at the top, which, to be fair, MLS has too. I think they might have bigger spending clubs than Miami and LAFC. But this whole thing, and people love to do it, and I get why, and I love to do it too, is this league better than that league? How does this league compare to that league? Pablo, there's like groups in this league. There's big gaps in leagues sometimes. So isn't that pretty hard? As you're evaluating players, don't you have to take that into account?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, right? And that's why I think for us, why the culture is so important, why we have to be greater than the sum of our parts, and to compete against the Suns and Boangas of the world, and the Rossies and the Kuipers that just went from MLS to Monterey. There's teams that are going to spend big money, and these players are going to make the difference every game. Where for us, I think you see it. We have difference makers for sure, but there's different names on the score sheet most games, and it's not one guy we're relying heavily upon to be the guy. And so I think it's a blessing and a curse, right? The blessing is that it forces us to be a team and figure out different ways to get results. But it also takes the burden off of one player to be the guy and show up every day. And if that guy's not on the day, maybe you don't get the result, right? So, I think every team constructs their groups differently. And again, just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to be a good team. And the opposite is true. So I think having a balance of understanding who you are as a team, the type of people that you need, and because again, oftentimes we look at sports differently, but it's like any other business. You want good people, you want smarter people than you in the building, and you want to create a culture where it's not micromanaging. You trust them, they do a good job. When you have to course correct, you do that. But I think it's like any other business. And when you know who you are and what your identity is as a business, then you know the right people that can fit into that system to be successful. And so I think the people that we bring in are just as important as the quality of player we bring in.
Do you have familiarity with, or how much familiarity do you have with these players in this particular form of competition?
Yeah, we don't, PK, and not a lot, anyways. Some of the big name players we're obviously familiar with, but again, I think it's a great opportunity to trust our process, to trust our game model and the way we play and the way we go about it, as opposed to spending so much time on our opponents, right? So we'll watch a couple of their league games, like for Tigres, we watched a couple of their league games because it was our first game, but then we watched, Atalante's game against, I think it was Vancouver, and then Juarez against Minnesota and Vancouver. So to get an idea of what their setup looks like against teams that we've already played against. And so it presents different challenges, but I like it because now we can really double down on us and say, well, it doesn't matter really who our opponents are. If we do, A, B, C right, we're going to find ways to win this game. And so, our scouts were really short. It was more almost like playing from a place of flow and not over analyzing our opponents and going into the weeds with all that stuff. And I think you saw the way the guys played when it was kind of, it was just about us, and they played free and they put together, 3 really good performances.
And I assume they have the same issues because everyone's on the same timeline. But I did think that they were giving Zach Booth a ton of space. I thought early in that last game, Pablo Ruiz picked his head up and he wanted to hit those big 60-yard diagonal. Mm-hmm. And they were moving left to right. And Pablo was roughly even with you and me. I kind of sit up in the air pretty similar to where you are. And I thought he picked up his head and looked and like, man, that guy's playing 20 yards off him. I better not. And he's kind of like, you could almost sense the disappointment. Man, that would have been fun. All right, and I'll play some respectable ball that Pablo will, approve of. He's probably disappointed in himself. But I thought it just showed they're scouting Zach Booth. Maybe it was just luck, but I thought they were scouting him.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I think that's why it's always easier when you come on the scene and, you have more space to make plays because no one knows who you are. I think the more plays you start to make, a lot like Gozo, teams will play you differently. And what that ends up doing is it opens up space for other players. And that's why it's so important to have such quality players in those front 5 positions for us because, again, you can't just focus on Aluna. You have to deal with Morgan. You can't focus just on Morgan. You have Serge. Now you have Booth. And then you have Juanma. And so, the quality of these players lend themselves to creating space for their teammates. And then it's about making the best decision available. But, I'd like to see Pablo hit a couple more of those balls to open up defenses, especially early on. It's one of his strengths. But you're right. Teams are playing Zach a little bit closer, and so that weak side is going to be defended a little differently.
So you speak of that culture and bringing in people that are quality, basically. I'm wondering, and I assume this has happened to you, whether it's here or other places as a player and as a manager and a coach. How many times have you, as an organization, whoever it might be, decided, okay, this guy's got the talent, but the other stuff isn't going to work?
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing process, PK. I think sometimes we feel like we've got a good beat on it, and then we go back and we think about the Zoom interview or the conversations that we had with said player, and there was some kind of red flag in and amongst it that we didn't catch, and I think it was because of the necessity of that. We just needed someone in. And so it's not that we overlooked it. It's this year we almost have this confirmation bias that we wanted to see what we wanted to see. But I think, this last year, I think we got every single one of them right. And, you can go back to, all the guys that we brought in from the beginning of this year, and Zach Booth and, Lucas Engel and Morgan Gillavogi and Sergi Solons and all these, Juan Sanabria, these guys have been just top, Juan Arias, top individuals. And so I think, it's like everything else. You're not going to get them all right. But, man, we've learned a lot over the years, and we brought in some real quality players that on paper looked to be a great fit for the team. But then culturally, when they came in, it was almost like they didn't fit. And it didn't, and I think what great players do or great people do is they create almost a synergistic effect where they can, they affect other players to the good. Like Morgan Gilavogi, for example. Like, he's such a great player, and plays with such poise and calm. But he's also an unbelievable person and teammate, and works hard for the guy next to him. And I think when you have a combination of both of those, it starts to bleed into the rest of the group. And so it's not always easy, but I think we're getting better and better at it. And again, it's not, the type of person is going to be, it's all relative, right? Because certain teams might want more bulldogish, we just want guys that want to grow and get better. And a growth mindset, and all these guys have that, and I think that's a really important quality because at the same time we're trying to develop young players, and if we have experienced players with a growth mindset, it's so much easier to reach the younger players and get them on the same path that these other guys are on.
Do you think you saw a little bit of that mindset with Serge Lalonde and the goal he scored and lifting it over the keeper? Is that a ball he might have blasted over the bar a few months ago?
Oh, man, it's just an incredible goal. DJ, again, this year's been so special with these guys because it's like sometimes I'm a coach, but most times, especially here at home, I've been a fan. And watching some of these plays, I'm like, man, that is unbelievable. The ball that Noel plays into Serge, plays it safe side. And then the fact that Serge, he was 3 plays ahead of the defender. He knew he was going to receive it with his right foot, click it behind him, and then he obviously knows what the goalkeeper's going to do once he does that. So his awareness of space and time is so elite, man. He's playing unbelievably well, and it's so fun to watch.
Well, if you're a fan, particularly at the home games, I think it'd be really cool if you came out with a little drum set.
Well, if I'm going to do that, PK, I'm also going to tailgate then.
Okay.
Yeah. I know some people who would sign off on that in a heartbeat. They would love to see you walking through the tailgate lot. Stop coming in that private parking lot. Park with the people. Just walk through on your way in and just wave, tip of the cap, all that kind of stuff.
And bang on some drums, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be a cool entrance.
PK's going to keep dropping Thunderbird High stuff because it has now come to our attention that there are other people on the staff who are getting annoyed by it. So once PK knows he's got him, he's not going to let go of the reins.
They're just jealous, man. That's all it is.
That's right.
They didn't go to the high school Harvard of Phoenix.
That's right.
Nice. All right, Pablo, Minnesota's coming in. I guess this is a team you could scout just because you had to watch. They were essentially in the same group and were playing the same teams from Mexico. So you just saw them a couple months ago, and now you've gotten to see them here in the last week or so on tape.
Yeah. No, we went down there in preseason, or up there in preseason, this World Cup preseason anyways, and had a scrimmage game with those guys. So we have a really good idea as to what they do. Again, they have a very dynamic front three that really they're real quality. And like all Minnesota teams that we've played in the past, they don't give a lot up defensively, and they play for set pieces. They have, I think, 7 guys over 6 foot. So anything in and around midfield that's a foul, it's going in the box. Any throw-in that's 40 yards and in will go into the box. And so defending set pieces will be a priority. So again, the emphasis for us is really how do we get that first goal without giving one up and manage the game from that perspective.
Pablo, we appreciate it as always. Good luck Saturday. Get the drums and head for the parking lot.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Pablo.
Take care.
Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach. RSL in Minnesota. Minnesota's 10th in the West. RSL is 5th, 15 teams in the West. That sounds like a bit of a gap. Only 3 points separate them in the standings. Minnesota wins that game. They're tied with RSL. Bunch of teams clumped together right there in the middle of the Western Conference. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, joins us at 8:30, and we'll give away. Yawk, you want to give away the tickets right now? Should we make people wait, or you want to do it now? Oh, we're doing it at the end of the hour. All right, you got to wait.
We got some space. Let's
8:50 or so. We'll give away the tickets to see Styx in Chicago. It's part of Aerofest 2026. It's August 30th, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Grab your phone, be ready to call in about half an hour, right here on The Zone.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
Joining the show now, college football writer for CBS Sports, John Talty. I was down at Big 12 Media Days, and the buzzword was unsustainable. Is the status quo unsustainable? And if so, how long in the future is that?
You go back to the start of NIL when guys were just starting to get paid, and you had athletic directors crying poor and how this is not sustainable. We can't do this. The issues that I feel like I've been hearing that for 5 years, and somehow the numbers keep going higher. The total numbers have probably 4x, 5x, if not more than where they were back then. I do think for some conferences and some schools, you might eventually get that point where it's like, this is not worth it to us. We can't keep competing if such and such school is spending $50 million on the roster, and we're only spending $18 million on our roster, which there are Big 12 schools doing that this year. At a certain point, you say, can we win doing this, or do we have to find a different angle or focus on something else like basketball or another sport, and maybe we just try to get to a bowl, and that's where our aspirations are.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the coach today from 10 to 2 at Tim Dahle Mazda, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy. Social media can be a total cesspool, PK, but there's just enough stuff there to remind you what it could be, what it used to be. Reaction to people. To people watching the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. Matt with the great movie quote, "People will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can't fathom." Of course, we don't mind if you look around. You'll say it's only $4,000 a person on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Major League Baseball.
Never forget, we turned a fantasy father-son, son-father into a money-making proposition.
Nice. Matt Carey at Real Matt Carey, you're funny.
People will come, Ray. Of course we don't mind if you look around. You got to get the financial thing in there.
It's only $4,000 a person on SeatGeek. And he even put the TM next to SeatGeek. Nice. Bravo, bravo. Well done, Matt. And now he's got a bunch of people champing in. McPherson. People will come, Ray. They'll have to stream the game on Netflix and search high and low to find the game, but eventually they will come. What streamer was that on? I just picture some dude bouncing around. Is it Apple? No. Is it Amazon? No. All right, I'll go try Netflix. Find the game in the second inning.
And then I saw Schwarber hits the first home run on Netflix. And so they had a graphic of like who hit the first run when the game was on ESPN, who hit the first run,
the first home run,
and when it was on Amazon, and all the different when it was on TBS, and all the different outlets that they've had over the years. And Schwarber gets the category of first home run on Netflix in a real game. Obviously the home run derby, but that doesn't count. So, yeah, man. It's quaint. It's charming. Roger Clemens and his son Cody, who's in the big leagues, playing catch after the game because he plays for the Phillies. And, hey, Dad, you want to have a catch? Buxton, who plays for the Twins, probably their best player, he's having a catch. And if you want to have a catch, it'll cost you $4,000.
Lots of people commenting on Shoeless Joe walking out of the corn so he can see FanDuel ads in the outfield.
Oh, that was
That was all over.
A story about a guy who's getting redemption for a gambling episode is.
The irony is just too good. All right, DJ PK, we're joined by David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. David, good morning.
Really your favorite, isn't it, DJ? That's truly your favorite. Like when something like that happens and you see it and you get to just kind of point it out, like that underlying story, that just makes you so happy. I can feel it, DJ.
It really does.
That's what makes you the happiest.
It really does.
The question really is, what makes PK the happiest? What's the equivalent that makes PK as equally happy as David James does when he sees that thing that has a little intellectual element to it and he can say, see, look at the irony there.
Well, I did point it out. I found the did you hear the first one?
I don't think David heard the start of this because I think he was on the phone with Jake.
Give him the first
this
one.
Guy, Matt Carey, at Real Matt Carey on Twitter. People will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can't fathom. Of course we don't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $4,000 a person on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Major League Baseball. James Earl Jones would love that.
Well, in this day and age, you can go have James Earl Jones do it.
Oh, the late great man. He would have. I think if you told him to go back there and reshoot that scene just for a laugh, he might have done it.
That's funny.
Well,
Awesome.
it's all in the quest for the dollar. I mean, we see it in stadiums that we're just shocked, and it's abhorrent, the fan behavior. Meanwhile, you can only buy 4 beers at one time. I mean, for $18. I mean, if you don't want that, stop selling that. But they won't. You got to make the money.
No. I mean, it's all of it. I mean, I don't know. It's never not been that, though. I think it's worth, right? Like, I don't know that I think it's actually any more of that than it ever was, right? Like,
no, you can go.
The Cincinnati Reds didn't put games on television because they thought it was going to cost. At one point in time, because they thought it was going to cost them money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So it has never been anything other than a profit industry. The numbers are bigger. The mechanisms are bigger. You know, it's just it's different, but I don't think I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it's different. It's got different. It feels it, but I'm not sure I buy that it really is.
David Locke, radio voice of the Jazz, joining us. What did you think when you heard the Lakers were sold? PK's got a little background, talked to some of the people he knows in L.A., a little stories emerging. I'm curious what you thought and what you heard and what you know.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the thing today. We'll travel the most of any team that's not going overseas. You see that?
I did not.
We'll travel 49,000 miles, which is the most of any team in the NBA that is not going to Paris. So San Antonio and New Orleans travel more, but they're going to Paris. I think that's because we have more plane flights than I've ever seen us have. I think we have between 13 and 15 single game road trips. So if you just think about it, like if you go on a 4-game road trip, you take 5 plane flights. If you go on a 1-game road trip, you take 2. And so 13 times at least, and maybe 15 if I remember correctly, but I'll go with 13. We go out for a single game and back. Now, the good news is twice those are Oklahoma City on the back end of a back-to-back, so we actually spend the fewest minutes possible in Oklahoma City all year, so that's pretty awesome. That's good to see on the schedule when you don't have to spend any time there. But I think, that jumped out at me. That will lead to a little bit more fatigue than before. I think the other one that jumped out to me is I really felt as though the team was going to need to have some sort of confidence boost. Like, I'm a really big believer that teams can get momentum and then just kind of win games off of it. And I felt as though we were going to need to have some sort of stretch fairly early in which we could run off a few so that the guys could feel good about themselves. It's just, we can talk about how good we think we're going to be and be hopeful to be how good we're going to be, but I don't know that there's going to be anything that lets these guys really believe it until they do it. So actually the open of the schedule is pretty great. Like if you run down, I think we're probably favored in 7 of our first 9 and maybe 9 of our first 13. And so that really gives us a chance to come out of the game and feel good about it.
DJ, PK, and David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, joining us. The Lakers sale.
May I ask you a question?
No.
Apparently.
What is everyone's thought about the midday Sunday? What's been the reaction to that?
I haven't really heard much.
I think 7 of our 41 home games are middle of the day games. It's a lot. That's like, I can do that math. That's like 20%.
We talked about Halloween. We haven't got much reaction on that. You're right. There are a bunch of other, there's a 3 o'clock game with Phoenix, I think. 3 o'clock with San Antonio on a Sunday a couple weeks later.
Yeah, there's 6 of them. Go look. We open the year almost every Sunday to open the season. We play at 1, 2, or 3 o'clock.
4 o'clock, rock. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, rock.
Conjunction, junction, baby. What's my function?
Hooking up words and phrases and sentences.
We're so old.
I'll get him to answer the Laker thing.
I don't think I can. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go for it a third time. I've been rejected twice. And
well, Honey didn't say yes the first time.
Oh, I know. I'm scarred by that. Trust me. It's true. She didn't.
Try again.
I'm
DJ.
just curious what you think of the Lakers sale, what you heard. PK heard some stuff. We've been wondering. It's just weird to see the Lakers treated like a starter home and then getting flipped every 10 months.
I probably don't know enough to comment on this intelligently, in the sense that one of the most interesting things I read is the tax benefit to owning these teams and how you can amortize costs and what it does for you is so incredibly valuable to these owners that actually a $2 billion profit over this time period actually doesn't make sense. I thought that was incredible, that it would have been a larger tax benefit for them to actually hold the team. That leads one to believe that the Department of Justice investigation or whatever is coming was principal to the reason why they sold. I think that seems to deductively make sense, that someone doesn't sell a franchise 10 months after they got it, unless there's something that's happened, and something happened. But I don't know it. I really don't know.
PK, tell them what you heard.
Yeah, and in my conversations with some folks down there in the L.A. area with my connections, still got a few, that, the guy who owns the principal guy with the Walter, that, he took out some loans, and he took them from insurance companies to buy the Lakers. And I guess that there's some issue there, and the SEC gets involved. So he's got to repay those loans. So he needs to sell the Lakers. And that Adam Silver is obviously aware of all this stuff. And the guys who bought it, the Kushner and Igor, is that how you say his name? That they were already in line to get the Vegas franchise. And since everything was already in order and they had everything what they needed, he just told them, "Hey, the Lakers are going to be for sale. There's a circumstance here. If you guys are interested, let us know." And they said, "Yeah, we're interested." And obviously they got together with the Lakers, and the thing was done in a quick manner because the other two already had everything, all their ducks lined up to get the Vegas franchise, and then boom, now they're just going to own the Lakers instead.
Makes sense. I mean, that lines up to that passes the smell test, as they say.
Yeah.
It has not been a great week for NBA owners. Did you catch the Matt Ishbia Wall Street Journal story?
I did. Yeah. That his mortgage company lost $600 million or something along those lines. But I know people in Phoenix, and they were saying, well, this guy's worth so much that they don't think it's going to impact the team. I have no idea if it is or it isn't, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he made a bet on something and it didn't work because the question what I've read on that one from the Wall Street Journal is, did he make the bet because he's desperate on some other things that he needed that bet to hit, and it didn't hit, and now he's in trouble.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of money to lose, no doubt about it.
Yeah. It's a different world.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Do you think the Blazers situation's getting worked out, or do you think the Portland team's going to be on the move? Bill Oram, who we all know from his time here in Salt Lake at the Tribune, he's been in L.A., he's been in Portland, he's been in plenty of NBA markets, and he's been all over the story. And I've been reading the stuff, and it seems a little doom and gloom-ish, and I'm having a little PTSD with the Chargers move. I'm seeing some similarities there. What do you think?
I mean, I could have the PTSD from the
Sonics move. So I know. That's why I'm asking you. I know.
So I think, well, actually the reaction I have to PK's story is, what does this do to expansion? If Iger and Kushner were lined up already for Vegas,
who's going to buy it
and
now?
now who's the Vegas owner? And does that delay? Are there that many guys lining up to own teams? Maybe.
They are really expensive right now. And so does that delay the overall expansion? If that delays overall expansion, does that then play into this Portland conversation? Because one of the questions on Portland is, like, where would he actually move them? If Seattle and Vegas are occupied, then where do you go? Kansas City's not that appealing. And you can tell the NBA would like to go from Memphis to Nashville. I think they have Memphis playing some games in Nashville this year and doing some things like that. But I don't think they're going to put a different franchise in Nashville. There's been a great value, frankly. Jazz, Thunder, Spurs, and there's three other teams I think have gotten big city money, state and city money to make improvements to their downtown or their arenas, and different reasons, but I'm sure having Seattle sitting as an open market didn't hurt. And so it's an interesting question of whether this delays expansion, because the NBA actually likes having some of these markets open for leverage.
Maybe so. Now, this would be my only guess. I have no knowledge on this, but that Adam Silver and those folks knew that, okay, if we have this ownership transition to the Lakers, we take care of that, and we have other folks in mind for Vegas. Now, I don't know that, but my guess is they're not starting from scratch now.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if Keontae George, Darren Peterson, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson, and Ace Bailey are on the floor together. Who's the best defender guarding? The worst defender guarding on the other team?
Who's hot that night, maybe?
Yeah, and also what kind of size does the other team have? Because you got players that really, are you matching up with the 6'5" guy? Are you matching up with a 7-footer? But I get your point. They got to pick their poison, and who's hot. And...
But I think you've got to put your best defender on Lowry, or else he'll just physically dominate you, right? And then you probably put your second best perimeter defender on Keontae because he's got the ball in his hands. So either Ace Bailey or Jaren Jackson as your least good defender?
So you think Markin is a better offensive player than Jackson?
Yes. Much, much better.
Explain, please.
Well, Jaren Jackson's been a very inconsistent offensive player in his career, and he's not a particularly efficient offensive player, and he's not a particularly good isolation player. We'll find out whether Will can unleash some things the way he did with Lowry, doing more things on the floor than he's done before. But Jaren's career has had more variability year in and year out in offensive efficiency than just about any player I can find in the NBA. He's had seasons where he's been really positive, and then he's had other seasons where he's really inefficient. Now, it does seem to really swing on it, which it shouldn't if you're 6'11", and maybe that's the biggest thing the Jazz can do is get him a consistent enough inside two-point game and having him around the rim enough with high percentage shots that he's not as reliant on the three for him to be an efficient offensive player. But if you look at his effective field goal percentage, there are not a lot of players that have that wide a gap year in and year out. And it does step largely to three-point shooting, but I don't think it should. His little push game around the basket and his hook game are fine, but they're not great. And so how do you get him more dunks, layups, opportunities like that get his overall two-point shooting percentage up so he's not as dependent on his three? Somebody just has more shoot the three on a catch and shoot in a way that Jaren can't. Lowry can probably, we haven't seen Jaren in the system, but Lowry comes off that curl in that pin down, either curling to the basket with that one power dribble to the rack. I'm not sure Jaren has that same explosion. Neither of them are good isolation players, and neither of them pass. So that will be really interesting to see how Will Hardy, who's, if you go back to his very early days, Will Hardy, you're going to play hard and you're going to pass. Well, there are not two players who average fewer assists for the shots they take than Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he does that. Jaren's a far superior defensive player, and I would say he's probably our best player, but on pure offense, Lowry's a better offensive player.
If Jaren Jackson Jr. plays with Yusuf Nurkic, there's going to be a lot of space around the rim to get Jackson really good looks inside of 5 feet.
Why is that?
Because I think Nurkic can operate off the top of the key. I think obviously you can put Markkanen out on the 3-point line. I think they can spread the floor for him.
Yeah, I'm probably not guarding Nurk, though. Like, if I'm the other team, I'm just not guarding Nurk. He can go play the handoff game at the top of the key, but I'm dropping my big into the middle of the paint. And so then Nurk's either going to have to shoot an 18-footer or play a handoff game with Keontae or Darren Peterson or Ace Bailey into a mid-range game, which as the opponent I'm fine. So then the question is whether you're playing a handoff game to pull up threes, which is a hard shot on that.
All right.
I'm not sure. I think there's way more room for Jaren on the floor if he's offensively playing the 5.
Oh, I agree with that.
I don't know how
yes.
much
I don't know. 10 to 15 minutes of that a night where he is the 5.
I don't know if we're going to do that, but it feels like that's the way the roster's lining up.
Yeah. All right, David, we got time to pick that up down the road. Thanks for joining us. That was a helter-skelter edition, even by our standards. That was something.
Well, I know what I'm talking about in the second part. I have no idea what I'm talking about in the first part, so I thought I might get us something. I know what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right, thanks, David.
See ya.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've got the tickets to give away. We're going to do that right after the break. It's a free tickets Friday. We got tickets to Sticks in Chicago, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. It's Aerofest 2026. Stick around. We'll give those tickets away on the other side of the break.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoq.
BYU has always done more with less. That's kind of their calling card. And it was only maybe a year or two ago where a prominent guy down there stepped up and said, look, we're never going to be the highest bidder. We're never going to throw as much into this as some of these big schools. Well, here we are now, and the coach is asking for more stuff. I honestly believe, Scotty, that what the issue is more than anything, this has happened fast. BYU's been in the game, but every single year there's a demand for more. You know, money is not, like everybody said, just growing down there on trees.
That is a huge reason why you're even seeing Alabama, you're seeing Michigan, you're seeing a lot of these schools begging Congress to get involved to protect them from themselves, because everybody has a point where it's like, we can't do this anymore.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, we got a family 5-pack of tickets to Aerofest 2026 featuring Sticks in Chicago. So Yawk went to the top shelf and dusted off the hits.
So, backstory on this. This is a Hatch family favorite. From my growing up years. You guys know I grew up on this stuff.
Classic rock. Your dad's all about it.
But as young kids, when they're talking like Mr. Roboto and it's just funky, we loved this song growing up. So there you go.
Sticks in Chicago at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. Call right now. Caller 12-801-575-ZONE. Caller 12-801-575-ZONE gets a family 5-pack of tickets to Aerofest featuring Sticks and Chicago, August 30th, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Good luck.
And I escorted Sticks one by one to their individual limousines at the height of their career.
Thank goodness you were there.
No, thank goodness the NAU football team was out of town that week.
I was going to say, a bunch of 6'3", 280-pound guys as opposed to PK rolling in there at 5'10 and a half, 155, soaking wet with a pocket full of quarters.
I think at that point, that was...
Mm-hmm. Were you all the way up to 160?
Yeah, because the time I graduated high school,
well, that's totally different.
From June to December, I gained 30 pounds. Natural growth.
I totally get it.
I mean, I was only 17.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, no, that would have been my second year. So I was,
you were 18, turning 19.
Right.
So you might have been up to 170.
I think, I was.
All right.
Yeah. I had filled out. I was probably like 175.
Yeah.
But the football team was out of town, and I had a job there, and they told us I was supposed to take tickets. And the guy came out. He said, "Okay, all you people here, stand here." And the band was practicing. You could hear them. And everybody went into the dome part where you could see him. He comes back. I'm the only guy there. He says, "You come with me." Takes me down to where I escort them with the flashlight instead of taking tickets. So I was obedient. And see, that's a lesson for young kids. Obedience pays off.
With rock stars.
And Cars.
In ways you would never imagine.
The Cars were the opening group.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Rick Ocasek.
Yeah, they just were coming on the scene. But Styx was, wow, they were all that in a bag of chips at that point. And I did notice, and then after the show, I had to escort. They opened up the garage door to the dome, and they pulled in 5 separate limos. And they all had their own limo. Couldn't have 2 to a limo. No. And away they went, yeah.
It's like the old Yankees joke, 25 guys, 25 cabs.
Yeah.
Sticks, 5 guys, 5 limos.
Mm-hmm. And since then, all these years later, they've had a bunch of squabbles.
Go ahead and squabble. And then get it together and go out there and cash those checks. People want to see you together.
The one guy who's singing, Dennis DeYoung, I think his name is, he's long since been out. I saw a Dan Rather thing on him. On Access TV where they interviewed 2 guys, and you could tell they weren't exactly thrilled with him. And this is recent. So there you go.
I was reading a story about the Eagles, and you saw the documentary on it. I need to watch that. And it was a story, and they were like glaring at each other while they were singing a song. They literally wanted to come to blows. They couldn't get to wait off stage. And
the Alan Cranston benefit at the Long Beach Arena.
Right.
And you could hear Glenn Frey and Don Felder going at it on stage. And and this documentary has it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to see that thing.
Yeah.
Get all the dirt. All right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to reminisce stories 1 hour before we send Jake Hatch off into the new media world universe. We got stories and reflections next. Stay with us. All right, Jake, you put it out on social media, but for the people who didn't see it, why don't you go ahead and share your sentiments here on your final day, your final hour producing DJ and PK and working at The Zone after how many years, 11?
So I've been with The Zone in a full-time capacity for 14 years.
14.
I've been with you guys from, let's see. So funny enough, we went back through the archives.
Mm-hmm.
Cinco de Mayo, 2014 was my very first show with you guys.
Oh, okay.
So we're just over 12 years in with you guys. I did about 2 years before that with Ben Criddle and that Cougar Sports 960 show that we built. Mm-hmm. It's now over with Broadway Media. But so I have made a decision to make a pivot. I'm stepping away from full-time radio. I will still pop up from time to time on The Zone. I'll be helping out with you and RSL broadcast DJ. I've already been told that if they need people to fill in, I'm going to come in and do some stuff like that. But I am going to be focusing on digital media. I've got a podcast I've done for 8 years almost now with the Locked On Podcast Network and David Locke, who we just had on. I've hosted the BYU version of it, and that's going to – so I call it – the side hustle becomes the main hustle. And I'm going to focus on that and some other digital media projects and see what else comes. So looking forward to it. It's a big change. It's kind of unnerving in a way because I've been with you guys. It's been kind of my safe space to know I'd had this every single day, but it's going to be fun. So bittersweet day, no doubt.
Well, good luck with that. The media is changing fast, so you might be doing it at precisely the right time. I mean, nobody really knows the future. We can get all Pablo Mastroeni back on here and get all philosophical about it. Sure. We know what Pablo would say, and he's probably right. So if that's the feeling and you feel like you got to roll the dice and make this move and, not hold on to the safety net forever, I totally get it.
I got a text from somebody you guys know, and I'm not going to say their name because I didn't authorize me to say their name on air, but they texted me yesterday and said, "What are you doing?" It was all capitals with like an exclamation point at the end, question mark. And I said, you know what? I'm trying something different. So go ahead, PK.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that because, people ask me, did you see us coming? Well, I said, I'd had conversations with Jake, several of them, and, there's reasons that don't need to be explained here. But no, it was not a surprise because of our prior conversations. And there's a couple of things that come to my mind on what you're doing based off of that text. So my father, who has been gone since 2014, I told him when I first got the gig here at the radio, which was 2002, right? And
right after the Olympics, right?
Yeah,
April.
Right. Yeah, and I had done subbing and had known DJ pretty well enough, obviously, and done a bit with Gordon and on the other shows at the other stations that don't even exist anymore. So my name had been out there, but this is really what I wanted to do. And so I call him up. I am just fired up as can be, And the first thing he says to me, "You're not quitting the newspaper, are you?" And at that time, I actually did both for 5 years. I said, "No." He says, "I don't know about this radio thing, but all I know is every year of my life, that newspaper has been on my doorstep every day," meaning that's secure. So, but I had both, right? Well, then 5 years later comes, and I'm presented with an opportunity to combine salaries, and I may have inflated the newspaper salary a little bit to see if I can get more, which worked.
Hold on. So this also applies to you?
Paycheck is why I live in Utah.
Paycheck.
Who are we kidding? It applies to all of us.
I'm just kidding.
It's not why I live in Utah, but it's.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
It's not why I live in Utah. It's the reason.
Oh, okay.
So 5 years later, I have this opportunity to go into radio and then some television stuff full time. And, the newspaper, at the time anyway, I thought, this is 2007, well, I could do this until I'm well into my 60s and then just retire, right? Because it was stable. Now it was starting to crumble a little bit. And the radio there, man, they seem like in my experience with sports radio, that it changes every second year. There's new hosts. But I thought, I can do this, and I really want to give it a shot. And I jumped in, so I quit the newspaper, which was the anchor to do this, and away we went. After even knowing, and DJ can vouch for this, knowing during that 5-year period when I was doing both, I was within minutes of being fired.
Yes, he was. That is a true story.
I have heard this story.
Yes. They asked me what I thought, and I told them what I thought, and to my great disappointment, they completely dismissed everything I thought about 30 seconds after I left the room.
I was literally within a day or so of being fired.
Yeah, and Gordon Monson to the rescue on a big old gigantic white horse.
Right.
There's no other way to say it. He had a gravitas that everybody else, including me, lacked.
Right.
And he could knock on the door and walk into a room I couldn't walk into and say, it needs to be like this. And then they actually listened
Gordon
to
said this will not happen. And I owe a lot to Gordon Monson. And I've told him, and everybody who knows me knows that. And here it is in the public. I don't know if I've ever brought this up, but that's a fact. Yeah. But yet I still, a couple years later, decided to do it. And so it's like this is an unknown. I was stepping into an unknown, giving up the anchor, and obviously it's worked out for me, so I don't see any reason why it won't work out for you. That's the point.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, and I can tell you the conversations I've had with you, with my own parents, the initial reaction is like, hold on, like, are you sure? Like, I'm like, yeah, I want to give this a go, and trust me, people ask all the time, this is the number. Okay, when I go out and people find out what I do, and I hang out with you two every morning, you know what the first question I get more often than not is?
Is he or isn't he?
No.
What's PK like?
Yes. It's like it's either how do you put up with those two, or what is PK really like? And it has been. I know I make you feel old when I say this.
Yeah, boy.
I grew up listening to you in high school. Like I would have it on my clock radio. It would turn on to you guys in your very earliest days, and that's what I would wake up to in the morning. I always wanted to try something like this in sports radio. I've been lucky enough to do it for 14 years, but digital media is changing, and it's changing fast. It's becoming like
totally agree.
The anchor of all media, let's be real, and I'm going to dive headlong into it and try some new things.
I would tell you that the first thing you try may not be the thing that works. And there will be a long line of people who will tell you, well, you screwed up. And the truth is, and you can read, I've been fascinated, I don't do it so much anymore, but for a long time I was hooked on reading biographies of famous people. Like the first thing, like Thomas Edison didn't get the first thing right. It just, so there may be bumps in the road. You may be looking around going, what did I do? This isn't working. Digital media consumption is taking off. How to monetize that has been a real struggle.
Well,
and I was just having a discussion last night. Like, you can't give up on the old school TV, radio, even newspapers who've taken a bigger hit than the others. Everybody's taken a hit to a degree. There's still money in all of those. Don't walk away from that, right? But in your case, maybe, you need to and see how it plays out.
Okay, and that's where the David Locke thing comes in. David built Locked On. It's celebrating 10 years right now of the Locked On Podcast Network, the college arm of which I am part of. I'm what they call one of our day oneers on that, where I was around from the very get-go. It's almost 8 years in the making. And to David's credit, he saw this wave of digital media, and he has been very smart about monetizing it. That is what is allowing me, honestly, to give this a shot, is that I have the side hustle that I've been doing alongside what I've done here in radio. It's going to allow me to try some new things. Because to your point, DJ, I don't expect everything to fly right away. But I'm eager for an opportunity to try something new and see how it goes.
So, J-Cat stories, because we've had a lot of fun in your more than a decade here. And one of my favorite stories, and Scott Gerard will hate me telling this story. Sorry, Scott.
Well, no, but this
is such a great
This is the best story, I think, of the bunch. Because apparently there's a period he was not listening very often. So.
No, and I get it, because he had 3 kids at home and he had stuff going on, and he's a night owl. Yeah. I've texted with Scotty after 11 o'clock at night so many times I can't even tell you. And so him getting up early, and plus he'd done our show. He didn't need to listen to our show every minute. So anyway, we get it hauled into one of the legendary meetings in an era when we had a lot of them. Now I don't even know the last time we had one. But in that era, we had them all the time. I don't know what it was. PK said or did something, whatever, and so we had to go down and talk about it. And then and I was so burned out on them, and I can't remember half the stuff anyway. Well, PK, blah, 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 you remember DJ? I don't know. And then you, he did, I remember. And then that made the meeting go an extra half hour. So PK labels you Judas and calls you that on the air, which I found hilarious. And I just started calling you Judas just randomly.
And by the way, this is not like a one-time thing. This went on for months.
Yeah. And so I'm talking to Scotty about something at the old place, and there was a room, and then there was a corner and a hallway. And you were down the hallway and around the corner in the studio.
Anybody who's in the Delta Center, up on the 5th floor, we called it the Zone Lounge. And you were on that lounge area, and our producer and studio booths are on the hallway behind it.
Scotty and I were talking, and I said, and we were planning something. I don't even know what it was. And then, Judas will do that. And he goes, Judas? I said, yeah, Judas. Judas? And he looks at me like, that is just wildly inappropriate, DJ. And I said, Jake. He goes, you're calling Jake Judas? And it occurs to me he hasn't heard any of this, right? And without moving, I yell around the corner, down the hall, and around the corner of the studio. And this just goes to Jake's good nature. I go, hey, Judas! And I hear back instantly, yo! And the look on Scotty's face, awesome.
It's true.
But it does go to your good nature and how much you rolled with everything and how much fun you were to hang out with for all those years.
Well, that's the thing about this. I call it, we're playing the sandbox of life. Like, come on. We got to live, eat, and breathe sports. Like, we get to do what our jobs are, what people do with their free time. That's never gotten lost on me, that we're lucky to do what we do.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday I went with a friend, Billy, you know him, DJ.
Yep, I do.
And his father-in-law, right, and my wife. And so we're getting ready to tee off. We played 9 holes over at Bonneville yesterday afternoon. And I say, I just want to be on record as there's 3 people retired here and only 1 is still working. And then Billy says, yeah, but you got the job that I would want when I retire. You got me there, Billy.
Billy's a lawyer. He can analyze things from many angles very quickly. You playing the victim on Sports Talk Radio ain't going to fly very far with Billy.
No, he wouldn't have it. He just, what do they call that? Objection denied or whatever it is. He just swatted that away like Mark Eaton with somebody coming down the lane. So, yeah, he put that in its place. It's very true. I've said that I have a job, but I haven't worked in 2+ decades. And
nice.
Extremely grateful. And, I want to make sure that people know that we're going to miss you, but we're also going to support you. And because you're still going to be around, it's not like the relationship is going to end. You're not moving to Seattle to take another job or what have you.
I'm not going far.
Yeah, right. And so I'm still going to talk to you. I'm still going to see you. And then hopefully if you have any questions or whatever, I could advise you, because I kind of look at you like a little brother type thing, because we've been together for 12 years, day in and day out. You know, I'm seeing you as darn near as close as you see the family. And I come around that corner on Monday, it's going to be freaking weird that you're not going to be there, because you get in here before us, and then I usually come in and you put the rundown stuff on the desk, and you get used to a routine, and you want that routine to continue for as long as possible if you love and enjoy the routine. If you're doing something that you don't want to do or you're tired of it, that's another story. But I think I can speak for us and DJ that neither of us are tired of this routine, and every day is a kick and a privilege to be able to come around that corner. And Alex Napolis, he's going to be our 7th producer, and, look forward to working for him. But it is a bittersweet day because you have decided this. The good thing, as I say, is you'll be around, but, you've been an integral part. We get the credit, the show's on our names and blah, blah, blah. But your job, in a way, certainly is very close, if not even more so, equal to what we do, and it is extremely important. It can't be done effectively without somebody in your side of the glass doing it very well, and you did it very well for over a decade.
And it isn't an easy job. It isn't a job that you can do when you show up day one. So you got to work at it. You got to get better at it. And day one for you was one thing, but 3 months down the road was different. A year down the road was different. You got good at it real quick, and you wouldn't have done it for more than a decade if you weren't really good at it. And PK's right. It's one of those deals. It's like recruiting and assistant coaches, and the head coaches get all the glory and the money. If the assistants aren't recruiting, they've all got that analogy. It's like if you don't shave, you can get away with it for a day, but pretty soon you look up and you look pretty haggard in the mirror. It's the same thing with producing. It's not like every segment rests on it, but if it doesn't get done well, you're going to look up a week, a month, a year down the road, and the show's going to look pretty haggard.
And one of the reasons I feel a level of comfort, we've been around Alex a little bit, and obviously he's done some vacation relief when you've taken off or did whatever you needed to do there, is that, and this is indicative of your character, Jake, is that you won't be officially a full-time employee. You'll be doing some freelance work for us, as you said. But I take a level of comfort knowing that as Alex progresses and the transition will be much, much smoother, because you will literally only be a phone call away, even though you're not drawing a day-to-day paycheck here. And I know that probably for the first little while, Alex will be the one executing what needs to be done, but you'll be right there helping him, telling him what he needs to do, even though you're not employed, because you value the relationships, which in the end, that's what you have when life is done, is the relationships, and you value that to where you want to make sure you're going to do everything possible that Alex's transition is literally as smooth as possible, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, and that's the thing about this is I care deeply about this station because you don't spend nearly a decade and a half with it. And the funny thing about this is 16 years ago this time, I walked into this place for the very first time as a college student. I was interning for Greg Wrubell. And I had literally never done anything in radio, sports media, and Greg took a chance on me and gave me an opportunity. He and David Locke, the next 2 years, I interned for both of them, gave me a crash course and baptism by fire and just learning what to do. I got to spend 2 years with Alema Harrington and Ben Criddle, trying and learning things. And then, I've grown up with you guys. I don't know how many people know this. I think you guys know this. I met my wife for the very first time the same month I moved over to working with you guys. She literally, to this day, today, Monday, when I wake up, will be the very first time she's ever known me to not have this job, waking up at 4 a.m., coming in, doing what we do here on the morning show. I've had all 3 of my kids during the time that we've been rolling on this show. I have grown up in more ways than one on this, and I'll be forever grateful. And I'm just going to do this right now. I want to give a shout out to Megan, Danny, Colton, and Landon, my family. They put up with Dad being gone a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's fun.
And setting the alarm for a different time is one of the benefits of what you're about to change here.
That's true.
You've done it for a long, long time. I mean, basically that's half our show, and then the other the other five are the other five producers, the other half of our show.
Yeah,
so
it's been a privilege. It's been an honor. I've had the time of my life. I was down at BYU practice earlier this week, and you guys are in that student athlete building. You know how the hosts that they have there, the older gentlemen.
Yeah.
One of them found out who I was, and he was like, I've been listening to that show since they started back in 2002. Like he talking about day one, and he could. I'm talking reciting chapter and verse on like different things that's happened during the show's history. But as he said, you've been with that show for half of its existence. Like
the longest running producer. Yeah.
But he was just we need to go. When we get down to BYU next time, I need to introduce you to this guy because it was pretty funny how well versed he was in the show's history and moments. He brought up Debbie. Like he's been around. Like trust me. Nice. But the biggest thing he said, you three, and he said he's like the three of you have made my life infinitely better every morning I've been able to tune in.
Well, that is nice to hear. Thank him for it. So we'll thank him when we meet him. And I think a lot of the guests are going to be asking about you because you've been the one screening the calls. Some of the guests you found, and you're the one who tracked them down. So whether it's Andy Bailey or Barry Trammell or Steve Cleveland, or what happened to Jake? Where's Jake? Off on an adventure.
Yeah, I'll be in. I'm like I said, I'm a phone call away if they want to reach out. But I'm sure that Alex, he's in good hands. He has been. I've been a part of it, but he's been trained up well, and he's ready to rock and roll.
I texted one of our guests that we've had over the years. You guys can figure it out. I don't want to name him. But I told him, I said, hey, going forward, and I said, it'll be Alex, a guy named Alex who will be hitting you up. And then he said, okay, man, I really hope Jake is going on to something new and exciting. And we texted back and forth. It's like, okay, I don't think you've ever met this person in person.
Not in person, but he did text me after you had this conversation. Yes.
There you go. See?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about, yes. He is a nameless, faceless individual that is but he's also a critical element in this show as well.
Right, yeah. Somebody you've never met face-to-face, but has a relationship with you.
He's a really good dude. Let me just say that.
Now I think I figured it out. Okay. All right. Well, why don't you get ready and hit the button for the last time? Jake's actually going to step away from the board here because there's a little going away party for him for the next hour starting at 9:30. So Scott and Tim and Lloyd can hang out with him here for a little while as well. Thanks again, Jake. We appreciate it, and good luck going forward. And it may not be a straight line going forward, but don't worry about it. Life rarely is. You just got to keep going on down the road, and you will figure it out.
It's going to be a party, and like I said, I won't be going far. I'll be checking in, I'm sure, from time to time with you guys. Mrs. K has already texted me this morning, PK, and is already trying to set a tea time. So
there you go.
So she's all over it. So thanks, guys. I really do appreciate it. It's been the thrill of a lifetime.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're back with everything you missed in this show next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
You have made it through the desert of sports radio.
Yeah, and you know what? We had help. I want to thank Brendan Storsby for his contribution to this summer.
A lot of people have gotten us to where we're at today, and what we want to do is thank you.
The injunction definitely bought us another week.
A lot of judges have helped us throughout this summer.
Injunctions are the new rage.
You're not cool these days unless you have an injunction. They're handing them out like candy right now. Everybody's got an injunction for something.
Junction. What's your function? Slowing down things we don't want to happen.
We've just spent a lot of time this summer talking about things that aren't necessarily sports, that would show up in a news headline instead of a sports headline. If you're a guy that got out of coaching, which you are, you couldn't have timed it any better.
No, I timed it
You
so
couldn't
good.
have timed it
I missed
any better.
COVID and NIL.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to catch up to date on everything we've been talking about. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. One of the big stories of the week is the Lakers getting sold 10 months after they were sold for $10 billion. Mark Walter turned around and sold them for $12.5 billion. And PK, you've talked to some of the people that you know down in LA, and a storyline is starting to emerge. There's 2 or 3 things that could be true, and they could all be true, but there's one line that seems to be coming to the forefront here pretty quickly.
Yeah, what I have heard, and I can't confirm it 100%, but it does seem like it, as Locke says, it passes the smell test, is that Walter had borrowed some money, and I guess it's insurance companies, and you got to get approval, and the SEC's involved, and so he's going to repay that and all that stuff, so he needs the money. And obviously Adam Silver would be eyeball deep in this, and this ownership group of Kushner and Igor was available and looked like they were going to, I don't think that had been official, but it looked like they were leading towards getting the Vegas franchise when they expand, and that they just got a call and said, hey, how about the Lakers then, and take over that. And so it was able to be done in this world of business extremely quickly, obviously. And so away you go, like a 3-day deal, I think they said, right? Is that did I read 72 hours or 4 days somewhere in there?
It was real fast, yeah.
Less than a week. Usually those types of negotiations take a good long while, and away you go. And then they announced it. They announced it a couple days ago, and here we are. And so, and then Locke brought up the question, well, what does that mean about the Vegas thing? My own speculation, which is exactly what it is and nothing more, nothing less, is that the NBA, led by Adam Silver and others, would think that, okay, we're not going to solve one problem by creating another one, that there's probably other folks in line if they go in that direction with Vegas, and away you go. And Portland's threatening to move, but
that's still 3-4 years down the road. Yeah. I mean, they're signed to at least the rest of the decade.
Right.
It's all a negotiation now. He may well go. He's not local, so he could pull him out of there. He could also get a great deal and stay, and we'll just have to see how it plays out.
But I would think if they want expansion, that there'll be those teams where they say in Vegas and Seattle.
That seems to be where expansion is headed, yes.
Yeah, that'll still happen, and the Lakers will have this new ownership, and then the Dodgers will be able to be intact under their ownership, and so away we go.
With that sale, the Lakers now have the two most expensive sales in North American pro sports history. And the top 10, there's only one baseball team, and it's the Mets, and it's now 10th. Now, there's only a couple NFL teams, but they don't get sold very often. The Washington Commanders, well, they forced an owner to sell there. In Denver, obviously the owner passed away, and the family sold. So those are the two. There's a lot of NBA teams there, but the fact there's only one baseball team there, I think just goes right back to why we're going to see a pretty intense labor battle here. And we're going to see spring training lost, and then probably some regular season games, and who knows how many.
Yeah, that could very well be. We'll see when we get there. I'm hoping not. I don't like work stoppages for anybody, especially for the folks who aren't involved in it and stand to suffer.
Would not be a shock to see, I think we've seen in the past, that some clubs do layoffs there. Certainly the people who are hired on a per-game basis are going to take a hit.
On a lot of
restaurants,
surrounding hotels,
restaurants, the vendors who do business,
cabs and Ubers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
The list goes on and on. I mean, you walk to the concession stand and you get whatever beverage and they put it in a cup or whatever. Well, the people who sell those cups aren't selling as many cups. I mean, it goes on and on.
Right.
So a lot of people take a hit. The neighborhood, on and on. On that topic, the Bears will not change their name if they build a stadium across Indiana state line. They will not be the Hammond Bears or the Indiana Bears. They're going to be the Chicago Bears, according to team chairman George H. McCaskey, whether they play in Arlington Heights or whether they go to Hammond. And right now he says Hammond is where we're advancing our efforts, and that's where the bulk of our time, attention, and resources are being devoted. So you're saying there's a chance for Arlington Heights.
Yeah, I'm wondering if for the average fan, are we just splitting hairs? What's the level of care for them?
Probably. I mean, most fans don't go to games. They don't fit in the stadiums. So, and I think that, half an hour or 45 minutes outside of downtown, these urban areas are sprawling. There's so many of these urban areas now, it takes 2 hours to get across L.A. or,
Oh, that's my helicopter.
Hour and a half across places in the Bay Area, and
Oh, that's my BART. My car, get out of town.
How long does it take to go from Connecticut to New Jersey?
Well, wow, depending on what time and traffic.
And which way you go.
Which is less than 40 miles, depending on where you're coming from, where I came from.
Yeah.
It could. I can recall one time we went to a doubleheader at Shea Stadium, which is out a little bit, and we got there in the first inning of the second game.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Just getting across the bridge sometimes.
And you would have had two bridges because you'd have to do the bridge from Jersey into Manhattan and from Manhattan into Queens, right?
Well, yeah, for that
For
stadium,
you.
yeah. But I was talking about just getting across the
just to go to Yankee Stadium, you have to go across one bridge,
which can be jammed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So but we've had these two teams in Jersey, and their whole operations are in Jersey, and they call them New York. So and it doesn't seem to matter for the fans. If you're a Giants or Jets fan, what difference does it make?
Well, I think that's a big deal with football being mostly a Sunday sport. You know, you've got probably less traffic, and then you've got all day. You're not racing from work to make a 7:30 start.
But as you say, the folks who watch it, there's way more who watch it on the television.
Oh, yeah.
So with that in mind, we it would just be funny that it would be in Indiana.
Yep.
The Bears. I mean, the Bears, they're one of the legendary franchises, the Bears, right?
They are. It's George Halas standing on the edge of a Model T, cooking up the whole league there in the beginning.
Right. And to not think they would actually be.
And the Arlington Heights
state.
is just the parallel to L.A. It's a racetrack. It was a big deal for a long time. It shuts down. It's a huge chunk of land in an area where it's just hard to get a large parcel of land like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just figured, well, they'll do a stadium and a dome and a massive entertainment center just like they've done in L.A. The parallels are right there. But as Locke mentioned, the tax incentives on these deals are something that most of us can't comprehend and don't dive into. And for the owners, they matter a lot. There's a lot of money at stake. So if they get a better deal tax-wise in Indiana than they get in Arlington Heights, Illinois, they'll go to Indiana.
And I think they should be the Indiana Bears.
Kyle Schwarber, living the dream. Lots of people living the dream. You got a couple dozen
on the field
Hall of Famers. Yes, on the field of dreams. A couple dozen Hall of Famers, 26, I guess, in all, walking out of the corn, and they got the music,
cool.
And they got the camera, and people are gawking. And, and they never get a group of players like that together. I mean, is this maybe a Cooperstown induction? Maybe. Maybe a World Series. It's just so rare.
Well, I
An
don't
All-Star
think
game.
I'm not sure about this, but I don't think there's ever been a collection of Hall of Famers to this number walk out of the cornfields.
I think you got me there.
Yeah.
That's specific.
Right. I don't think we've ever had that many.
And they use the movie scene, and it's just it's perfect. It's baseball can get so sentimental, and we love our sports history and our legends.
It has to be sentimental.
They
It is the
brought
most sentimental sport we have. Out with the only thing next to it is when a golfer wins a major and has lost forever and drops to his knees and sobs, especially if his father's deceased. As Jim Nantz, the last time Tiger won the Masters, tried so hard to get him to cry. But Tiger, in his obstinate way, he wasn't going to do it.
Not having any of it. I'm going to hold it together and mentally tough.
If that had been in his first, maybe. But it was his 15th, right? His 15th and presumably most likely final. Yeah.
One of your better calls. He's going to get one more, but only one. That's what it's been. He got one and only one. And then it was the Masters, too. I mean, nothing wrong with winning the PGA, but he won the Masters.
And who, of the three of us with Casper, who picked that one?
You done did. Somewhere Bob felt a disturbance in the universe. Straight out of Star Wars. Shiver,
So picking Tiger at the end or picking Matthew Fitzpatrick, just nobody had heard of, which one do you think was better?
Tiger. Because he's Tiger. I mean, as picks go, you're landing 1,000,000 to 1 on both of them. They're both glorious. Oh. But in the history of golf, Tiger's Tiger, so I would
What
take
does our
Tiger.
new producer think?
Alex isn't here yet. Don't roll Lloyd into that. He's not getting up at 4 a.m.
Where the heck's Alex, man? He's already taking a day off?
He wasn't getting up at 4. They don't want to pay him for this half hour. He wasn't getting up at 4 a.m. 12 years ago. He's not doing it now.
I don't blame him.
Got more stature now than he did then.
Oh, yeah.
And he avoided it then.
His office is as big as my first, we owned a townhouse in California, I think, man. That spacious palace that he has across the hall here.
Right. That little closet. Scotty G's office is still bigger than mine.
Does he still have one downstairs?
Yeah, he does.
Does he not even use it, does he?
Yeah, here and there.
Oh. Yeah, the Godfather. Godfather Part 2.
Kyle Schwarber, home runs 36 and 37. You figure he's going to get to 50 or no?
I would say no.
Need a bit of a hot streak to pull that off. He may not lead the majors in homers. Matt Olson, Yordan Alvarez, Junior Caminero, all sitting on 35. Hunter Goodman on 34 could be a good race for the home run title. I don't think that means what it used to.
It's amazing when they
cleaned
it up, how the numbers reverted to more normal.
Yeah. Yeah, some guys live 40.
Yeah, which is huge.
It is huge. Yeah, it didn't happen every year.
Right.
When I was a kid, the Padres' Nate Colbert tied Johnny Bench, and I think it was 38.
But now that we're in the middle of August, low to middle 30s is about right.
There's only seven players at 30 right now. I mean, there'll be more. Shohei's on 27. Abrams is on 29. Pete Crow Armstrong's on 27. So we'll have some more big names get to 30. But for them, it'll be a push to get to 40. I mean, 13 homers. You really have to catch fire down the stretch here.
For sure, yeah. Or inject something.
A little late for that, I think. I don't think you get instant results like that.
You don't?
I don't.
How long does it take? I mean, you've done it.
I have not, obviously.
I thought you were a bodybuilder now.
I thought the stuff I read, they always rotated through them in the off seasons. I always thought it was like a 3, 4, 5 month thing to kind of to build it up. Talk to your doctor, dude. I don't know.
Okay, I'll start in October. You wait till you're going to see me next April.
Google machine, check it.
You're not going to believe the way I look.
Yeah. The Dodgers, the issues continue. The bullpen blows a game. Edwin Diaz, 2-run ninth inning lead. That didn't matter. Brewers rally and win 5-4.
People don't realize this, but he has now changed his name from Ed Win to Ed Loss.
Nice. Just came up with that?
Yeah.
Cool. Dodgers, third best record in the National League, and the Cubbies are only 2 games behind them. The Cubbies will probably be a wild card. I mean, they're chasing the Brewers there in the Central, but it's been a tough month for the Dodgers.
Yes.
Sounds so rough. So rough for the Dodgers. Life is rough.
Bees will be on the air again tonight. They lost in El Paso 11-8. Tony Parks is on the call tonight at 6:20. You hear the game on 1280 The Zone. High school football, essentially the red zone. They call it tailgating. It's essentially a high school football red zone show. Is going to be on the air on 97.5 The Zone tonight. So it'll be whipping around from game to game to game, checking in with fans and updating scores and dropping in on the calls of the 23 different games that they will have at their disposal tonight across the state to update you on. All those 23 games streaming on KSLSports.com and the KSL Sports app. We had Pablo Mastroeni on earlier today. They've advanced to the League's Cup. That'll be late August. They'll play their quarterfinal with Leon. But first, Minnesota United Saturday night. Your takeaway from talking to Pablo.
He's excited about the new group. You know, there's no sense in wallowing in the despair of Gonzo, and life moves on. The season moves on. You've got other players who have opportunities to do what they do, and let's see. You've talked about Booth here, being a kid from Utah, no less, a 22-year-old. Chadwick Zach Booth. I think I'd rather be known as Zach, and he's one of them. But there's other guys, and onward and upward you go, and to see what they can do and resume the MLS chase. You talk about how everything is bunched up there. But you also said you found out that somebody on the staff is irritated that he and I went to the same high school and grew up about a mile apart. Who the crap is that?
One Jake Scott.
Jake Scott?
Yeah.
It bugs him, huh?
It does. I thought you already knew that. Thought you were pretty clear on that.
If I knew that, I wanted to hear it again.
That I believe. That's on brand. You're staying with your strengths there.
Me and Pobs are boys.
That's a true story, actually. The cool thing is that actually you didn't know each other, hadn't met, and you went to high school years apart.
I'm older.
So you were at a game, and I think you actually went with friends. You were there as just a fan, and so you stuck around. I think they gave your wife a ride home, and you stuck around and came down in the post game with me. And so I'm sitting in a chair there, and you're just kind of leaning against the wall. And Pablo comes in, and you were kind of between me, and I'm probably like sitting, 10 or 12 feet from the door, and you're kind of in between me and the door. And Pablo walks in, sits down, does his thing. He usually, these Jerry Sloanish, and they're like, you're going to get 15 minutes out of him. Like, he'll sit there and answer questions.
Sure.
And so he gets done, he gets up, and usually I don't say anything or talk to him at that point. He just walks out and said, Pablo. And he turned and looked at me, and I looked at you and just kind of nodded, and he knew immediately who you are. I could see just, that has got to be PK.
It's the look.
There it is.
All Chiefs have it.
Even if you're not the Chiefs anymore.
We're not. They changed it. Well, they did change it. But so be it. But the old schoolers.
Right.
Still call them that.
Yeah, well, I called a Cedar High football game, and they had one nickname for a long time that they changed in 2019. They shortened it. They're the Reds now. And I had to write it down in front of me so I didn't blurt it out. Old school. Old habits die hard. And now I'm calling Bountiful tonight, and they also changed their name. I have to write that down so I don't mess that one up.
What is Bountiful?
Oh, man. You're killing me.
The Capricorns?
The Capricorns.
No?
It is not. It is now the Redhawks.
The Redhawks?
Yes. They changed it in 2021 after using the old name for 70 years.
70 years?
Yeah, 1951,
Whoa.
I think, is when the school opened. So they went to Red Hawks, and Cedar went to the Reds. I think somebody else changed the name too, but I can't remember who it is.
Well, St. Louis
Springville
went to the
did
Blues.
not. There was a push to change Springville's, and then they decided to hold on to it.
I have no idea what Springville
They're
is.
the Red Devils. Somebody didn't think Devils was appropriate, so that was the whole thing, and they had to have a school board meeting. Oh, yeah, there's a school board meeting, and it went on and on.
I just call the Sun Devils the Devils. That's what everybody calls them.
I know. Yeah, I hear
I
you.
didn't think twice about it.
And nonetheless, there you are.
And I am a Christian.
DJ PK, we're taking a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, we wrap that up, so we'll get your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for your feedback. The tweet of the morning, everybody's talking about it. You found it, the real Matt Carey tweeting out, people will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can't fathom. Of course, we don't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $4,000 a person on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Major League Baseball. Matt for the win. That'll keep people on social media for another week, putting up all sorts of negativity, because that's hilarious. That's what social media should be right there. Very funny, Matt. Very well done.
If you build it, you will get rich.
MLB at the Field of Dreams site with Hall of Fame players walking out of the cornfields. How can you not love it? Michael, I loved everything about it. Tony Perez coming out of the corn. 100.
Now, I mentioned Tony
You
Perez.
did, and the smile on his face.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Big Red Machine, and I was a kid. I was in elementary, maybe junior high, but mostly elementary for that. And the names never changed. And we saw them once a year when they came through San Diego. And the lineup thing, I always kept score at ball games, and it was always the same names. We got Johnny Bench on the show one time, and I had to ask him about one specific at bat in San Diego, and he remembered it, singling off a 17-foot wall, 370 feet out there, 17 feet in the air. Would have been a grand slam anywhere else.
Yeah.
And those names, I mean, Perez, Bench, Concepcion, Griffey, senior, not junior. Names just gone. Pedro Borbon on the mound.
Morgan and Rose.
Yeah, Morgan at second. Pete Rose playing all over the place. Mostly left and left field. He played first and third and second. I'm not old enough to remember at second base. That's what he did early in his career.
A little later, George Foster was a South Bay
George
kid.
Foster. He had a 50 home run season when those were very rare. That's a guy who had to feel ripped off by the steroid era. He hit 51 when everybody else hit in 31.
I know.
I mean, that was just, he was not a big muscle guy. He was tall, long, lean. but he got through the bat through the strike zone pretty fast.
Yeah.
He could launch it.
Yeah.
Who else besides Tony coming out of the corn? You're like, yes, my guy.
All of them, man.
All of them.
It was like a thing going by, and you're watching, and you're trying to name them all, and then they're moving. Wait, this guy. Who's it? Paul Molitor was on the end. Trevor Hoffman doesn't look any different. He looks like he could go out and pitch today, but the list went on. I would have to go back and look because I'm watching it, and I didn't see it live because I was busy, but I did see it, and so I'm trying to name as many. Once I got the idea of what was happening, Ryan Smith even went on Twitter and said that that's cool because it is. And, yeah, the more you can connect with your past, I know basketball, the Bill Russell Award or what have you, and those types, that connects people to, even if you weren't around then, well, wait a second, he's a baseball Hall of Famer, man, that's got to mean something. And I didn't see Paul Molitor play, but let me go look up Paul Molitor, see what he's about. And obviously a great hitter and all that stuff. So, yeah. If I was a Hall of Famer and I didn't get asked, I would have been miffed.
Yeah.
I would have paid my own way if I had the health and was able to walk out of that cornfield.
Bob says it was awesome. Brings back memories of the movie. So much respect for the Hall of Fame players with everyone clapping when they came out and were announced. I wonder who determines which players were invited.
That's what I'm wondering.
Commissioner? Get a committee to do it or something?
Or if they just went through a list and then we'll get on to the next ones. And Joe Torre in his Yankee jersey. And it's funny because Joe Torre, if you go back and look at Joe Torre's stats as a player, he was a big-time player, but he's remembered as the Yankee manager.
Yeah. But he played for the Cardinals. Catcher. Big time.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was. He was a really good player.
Yeah.
Hit 300 as a catcher. And
yeah. But the latter, including myself, remembers him mostly as the Yankee manager.
It's more recent. And that
looking up to the stands crying when they won their 47th consecutive World Series.
Yeah, an awesome run. 3 in a row in 4 and 5 years. But baseball three-peats, it's Yankees, A's, Yankees again. Short list.
Padres starting this year.
That would be awesome. May it be so. The Big Red Machine came close. Couldn't quite pull it off. They went back-to-back, but they couldn't get 3. I think they played in 4 of them, though. They had a good run.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, we're out of time. Scotty G and Tim Lacombe up next right here on The Zone.
Country roads take them home, back to the place where they belong.
Party time! You have a great weekend, okay, buddy?
Win big.